Chapter 1162. Right now, the headache was that these 5 coffins might contain blue-robed Emperor-level blood-sucking monsters. After they mutated, no one dared to test how horrifying their strength was. Even someone as strong as Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi did not dare to do so. Amid the tense atmosphere, Xiao Chen discovered some other signs. The placement of these 5 coffins seemed to affect some sort of formation. Once it was activated, it would affect everything else. The restrictions of the entire residence would be destroyed. Who knew what would happen? Footsteps rang out. Yu Bingyun arrived late, standing beside Xiao Chen. Bing Xuejian frowned slightly, anger flashing on his face as he glared coldly at Yu Bingyun. Initially, Bing Xuejian only glanced casually. However, when he saw Xiao Chen, his gaze never shifted away. Oh no. Xiao Chen thought to himself, this is bad. This Bing Xuejian must have remembered that I casually spied on him earlier. Unexpectedly, you are here as well. That's fine as well. Go over and open one of the coffins and help me check it out. Bing Xuejian said in an extremely tyrannical manner, not standing on ceremony. The people he chose were also very clever. The 4 or 5 consummation blue-robed Emperor Yu Bingyun were clearly in cahoots. Touching any one of them would result in a backlash. Only Xiao Chen was alone. At most, there would be Yu Bingyun. However, they were just 2 great perfection blue-robed Emperor Yu Bingyun. They were not sufficient in Bing Xuejian's eyes. When the others heard this, they felt excited. At this moment, the situation fell into a stalemate. Someone had to break the stalemate and go over to test out the situation, to see how strong the blue-robed Emperor-level blood-sucking monsters were. You overestimate yourself. Great perfection blue-robed Emperor dares to come here and join in the fun. Serves you right. The smiling saber demon had suffered at the hands of Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun before. When he saw the scene, he immediately felt extremely happy. Fei Lingyi had been impatient since long ago. When he heard Bing Xuejian's words, he immediately said, "This place is not something you should have come to. However, since you are already here, then don't leave. Go over and open a coffin lid. I will guarantee your safe return." Xiao Chen smiled coldly in his heart. Both Fei Lingyi and Bing Xuejian were not good people. If there was any danger, it would be strange if Xiao Chen helped them. Yu Bingyun sent a voice projection, asking him if he should expose his trump card to intimidate these 2 people and get through this hurdle. Although Xiao Chen was curious about what trump cards Yu Bingyun had that could deter even Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi, this was not the time yet. After rejecting Yu Bingyun's suggestion, telling her not to act rashly, Xiao Chen glanced at Bing Xuejian. Then, without saying a word, he walked towards the 5 coffins in a circle. At least you know your place. Bing Xuejian snorted coldly as a faint smile appeared on his face. It was very likely that the life and death art that Xiao Chen yearned for was on the prayer mat. The only difficulty was that the 5 mysterious coffins around the prayer mat were too sinister. Now that Xiao Chen had captured someone to test it out, it was simply the best. 10 steps, 8 steps, 7 steps. As Xiao Chen got closer to the coffins, the heavy stench of blood and the sinister aura became even more horrifying. The blood-sucking monster locked inside was definitely extraordinary. Brat, hurry up. Stop wasting time. The smiling saber demon cursed from behind. The others also urged Xiao Chen to hurry up. Yu Bingyun's heart clenched. If this was really a blue-robed Emperor-level blood-sucking monster, Xiao Chen would definitely be the first to suffer. Although Xiao Chen had the Death Saber Soul, a great counter to this blood-sucking monster, a blue-robed Emperor-level blood-sucking monster would definitely be a different story. It would be incomparable to the small fries from earlier. Go all out. Xiao Chen quickly thought about it. He had never thought of just waiting for death, obediently letting these people use him as a tool. Xiao Chen raised his hand and threw a palm strike. An intense energy burst forth from his palm. Bing Xuejian and the others revealed nervous smiles. They all made their preparations, just waiting for the coffin lid to open. However, to their surprise, Xiao Chen's energy did not open the coffin lid. Instead, it struck the bottom of the coffin, pushing the coffin closest to him away. "White-robed brat, what are you trying to do?" The others roared, and Bing Xuejian radiated a murderous intent. He already placed his hand on his scabbard. The instant he drew his sword, Xiao Chen would die for sure. Rumble! The movement of the coffin seemed to have triggered some sort of grand formation. Loud bangs rang out incessantly, and the ground beneath the stone chamber began to cave in a single breath of time. Then, it quickly spread through the entire cave. Amid the loud sounds, the complicated paths in the cave started to collapse. Everything that happened caught everyone off guard. Xiao Chen's palm strike caused a huge commotion. A formless force pulled down the few people who fell. No matter how they struggled, it was useless. Their bodies continued to sink. 1 kilometer, 10 kilometers, 100 kilometers, everyone started to show expressions of horror. Even Bing Xuejian, who wished that he could immediately kill Xiao Chen, could not care about anything else. He only thought about how to escape and figure out his current situation. Accompanying them were the 5 mysterious coffins and the cattail hassock. When they got closer, everyone could clearly see the title page of the secret manual on the prayer mat. The words, "Life and Death Art," were clearly written in black. Everyone had fervent gazes in their eyes. However, at this moment, they were being pulled down by the formless force. They could not even protect themselves. They could only stare at the life and death art, unable to do anything. In this strange environment, Xiao Chen thought calmly. He felt somewhat surprised at this scene that he personally created. Earlier, he had already guessed that the positions of the 5 coffins involved some sort of formation. However, he had not expected them to sink so deeply. However, such a situation would definitely not last. There would eventually be a moment when they landed on solid ground. At that time, a fierce battle would be unavoidable. Whoever was weak would die on the spot. The cold Bing Xuejian, the arrogant Fei Lingyi, and the 5 consummation blue-robed emperors working together for the sake of their common interests. These 3 sides could barely be considered evenly matched. Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun were the weakest. The moment they landed, they would probably be eliminated immediately. Brat, good luck. The smiling saber demon looked at Xiao Chen with malicious intent. He already guessed Xiao Chen's fate. He would not be able to escape death. After fooling so many people, each of them could tear Xiao Chen apart with one move. Yu Bingyun glanced at Xiao Chen and sent a voice projection. "Xiao Chen, I'll make a move later. You go and get the life and death art. After that, we will leave together. Wait a while first. Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi are not simple. I'm afraid that even if you make a move, you will not be able to delay them." Xiao Chen already had a countermeasure in his heart. He looked coldly at the smiling saber demon, and the dragon-shaped heavenly seal in his body started to drive the power of the world, preparing to attack at any moment. Whoosh! Suddenly, the descending group clearly felt the pull from the ground weaken. The smiling saber demon could not help laughing maniacally. "Brat, your time of death has arrived." Fei Lingyi and Bing Xuejian also stared coldly at the smiling saber demon. Clearly, they both wanted to deal with the reckless Xiao Chen immediately. When the pull from below completely vanished, Xiao Chen would not be able to escape death. However, as the pull weakened, Xiao Chen did not panic at all, remaining as calm as usual. He had never been someone who meekly accepted adversity. These people wanted to use him as a scapegoat. Naturally, he had to pay them back ruthlessly. Xiao Chen's first gift was for the smiling saber demon. This fellow kept mocking him. After arriving in this stone room, the smiling saber demon was the one who spoke the most. He was even more arrogant than Bing Xuejian. "What are you looking at? When this great me can move later, you will be the first to be killed." The smiling saber demon retorted ferociously when he saw Xiao Chen looking at him. "Even at death's door, you still dare to spout nonsense. If you want to kill me, I'll kill you now." Xiao Chen, who had not spoken since entering the stone room, suddenly spoke. He snorted coldly, and with a thought, the extraordinarily mighty blue dragon battle armor appeared on his body, causing the strength of his physical body to soar wildly. The expressions of the others changed. Xiao Chen's physical body was already horrifying enough. To think that it could improve further. What cultivation technique did he cultivate? Pu Si. In the space where the 5 could move, Xiao Chen shouted and took a step in the air. This step was extremely strenuous. The facial features on Xiao Chen's face twisted together, and sweat poured down his forehead. Although the mysterious pull from below had weakened significantly, the others still could not move. Even Bing Xuejin and Fei Lingyi could not break free. However, Xiao Chen relied on his strong physical body to force himself to move. Step by step, he walked to a coffin with some difficulty. "Didn't you want me to open the coffin? I will give you a big gift now." Xiao Chen threw a palm strike and opened the coffin. Then, he turned his palm into a fist and used all his vital qi to punch, sending the coffin flying towards the smiling saber demon. The smiling saber demon could no longer laugh or act arrogantly. Horror appeared on his face. The smiling saber demon had not expected Xiao Chen to still be able to move under such circumstances. The development of the situation did not give the smiling saber demon much time to think. An ugly, blood-sucking monster with a frightening aura charged at the smiling saber demon. Although the blood-sucking monster's legs were too weak to move, with some effort, it could still move its arms. The smiling saber demon took out his 9-ringed saber and did not hesitate to chop down on this blue-robed emperor blood-sucking monster. A miserable shriek resounded, and the blood-sucking monster opened its scarlet eyes. Then, it glared at the smiling saber demon with the hatred of a wild beast. In this strange environment, although this blue-robed emperor blood-sucking monster was also restricted by the mysterious pull from below, it was much more nimble than the smiling saber demon, able to move slightly. The two sides quickly started fighting. The smiling saber demon showed a nervous expression. In such an environment, it would already be pretty good if he could bring out his full strength. When the smiling saber demon thought about being sucked dry by the blue-robed emperor blood-sucking monster, the smiling saber demon trembled in fear. The smiling saber demon brought out all his potential. He brandished his 9-ringed saber, doing his best to stop the blood-sucking monster from advancing. Chapter 1163. However, this blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monster was terrifyingly strong. Its recovery ability was also horrifying. It was only a matter of time before the smiling saber demon died. Earlier, this smiling saber demon had thought that he could defeat Xiao Chen, being boundlessly arrogant. However, in the blink of an eye, Xiao Chen used some tricks to push the smiling saber demon to the brink of death. When the other old men who had cursed at Xiao Chen earlier saw Xiao Chen look over, they all felt a chill in their hearts. "Brother White Robes, we can talk things out. Don't be rash," someone begged for mercy, feeling guilty. At this moment, no one dared to meet Xiao Chen's gaze. That's right. Don't be rash." The smiling saber demon was reckless. "He deserves it. We do not have any deep grudges with you." When the smiling saber demon, who had been cornered by the blood-sucking monster, heard this, he immediately felt an urge to vomit blood. Xiao Chen ignored these people. His gaze remained fixed on Bing Xuejin's cold face, not wavering. This allowed the others to release their bated breath. Now that the smiling saber demon had offended Xiao Chen, the smiling saber demon, who was about to die, was the best example. "I advise you not to do this. Otherwise, you will die very miserably." Xiao Chen smiled coldly and said, "If I don't do this, you won't kill me? Don't think that you can control everything just because you are a half-step Emperor Wu. Let me give you one of these gifts as well." Like before, Xiao Chen took 3 steps forward and threw a punch and a palm strike, sending a blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monster to Bing Xuejin's side. Compared to the flustered smiling saber demon, Bing Xuejin appeared extremely calm. He did his best to brandish his sword, using all sorts of ingenious trajectories to prevent this blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monster from getting close. Xiao Chen was not surprised by this. With this move, dealing with the smiling saber demon would not be difficult. However, dealing with the half-step Emperor Wu-level Bing Xuejin was still not possible. All he could do was delay him slightly. However, this was also the effect that Xiao Chen wanted, so he did not beg for much. Xiao Chen continued to use the same method on Fei Lingyi. Naturally, he could not let such a person, who posed a great threat to Xiao Chen, off. A miserable shriek rang out. The smiling saber demon could no longer hold on, and the blood-sucking monster bit his neck. His life force slowly drained away, and he suffered immense pain. Xiao Chen's methods could not be blamed for being cruel. For the sake of this life and death art, he had already reached the final step. It was either you die or I die. There was no room for mercy. Killing had to be decisive. He felt that the blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monster had become stronger after sucking the smiling saber demon dry. He turned his head and immediately walked towards Jin Liangqi, who was closest to him. His footsteps were extremely slow in the air. Compared to Xiao Chen, he was much slower. However, he was still moving while Jin Liangqi and the others were unable to move at all. Xiao Chen stopped observing and turned around. Then, he headed for the prayer mat about 700 or 800 meters away in the air. Normally, Xiao Chen could cross this distance with just a thought. However, he was now descending very quickly. Furthermore, his feet were restricted by the suction force. This made it very difficult for Xiao Chen to walk. Vital qi surged, and the blue dragon patterns on the blue dragon battle armor flickered. For the sake of this life and death art, Xiao Chen put in all his effort. Damn it! This life and death art is going to fall into this brat's hands. Fei Lingyi and Bing Xuejian, who were fighting with the blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monster, watched as Xiao Chen got closer to the prayer mat. Their eyes nearly spewed flames. However, they could not do anything about it. With their physical bodies, they could not break free from that suction force. Furthermore, there was still a blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monster holding them back. They could not spare any attention to spare. 10 meters, 9 meters, 8 meters, Xiao Chen approached the prayer mat step by step. As he looked at the life and death art on the prayer mat, he felt like he could grab it with just a stretch of his hand. Xiao Chen could not help revealing a smile on his tense face. I got you. Life and death art. Xiao Chen shouted. Already near the prayer mat, Xiao Chen did not hesitate to stretch out his hand to grab the life and death art that he coveted. However, just as Xiao Chen's hand was only half a meter away from the life and death art, something strange happened. The group, who had been falling downward, found their footing firmly. They had touched the bottom. Suddenly, Xiao Chen regained his freedom, which stunned him somewhat. He stumbled and his body fell forward due to inertia. Xiao Chen reacted very quickly. He pushed off the ground and turned around. Then, he stretched out his hand again and grabbed the life and death art. However, just at this moment, Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi, the two half-step Emperor Wus, also burst out crazily. They soared into the air, temporarily breaking away from the harassment of the blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monster. Fei Lingyi sent out a horrifying sword move, charging at Xiao Chen. The two half-step Emperor Wus attacked without holding anything back. It was extremely horrifying. The anxious Fei Lingyi even used the greatest amount of energy that the Jadeite could draw from the Jadeite into his sword move. This made the Jadeite crisscrossing sword lights appear even more unblockable, even tearing through the air. Without a doubt, Fei Lingyi had only one goal, not giving Xiao Chen any chances. He had to kill Xiao Chen in one move. Compared to Fei Lingyi, the sword move that the cold Bing Xuejian executed was even more horrifying. Before the sword move arrived, that cold qi already permeated Xiao Chen's bones and blood, causing his entire body to feel cold and his movements to go numb. Xiao Chen, who already grasped the life and death art, could not help feeling horrified. Under these two sword moves, he felt an overwhelming killing qi, an unparalleled sword intent, and the horrifying might contained in the sword moves. Even if one of them executed the sword moves, Xiao Chen would not be able to block them. At this moment, the two half-step Emperor Wus worked together to execute their killing moves. Xiao Chen could not help feeling disheartened. With his blood frozen, he could not even take out the golden plume feather in time. Corpses littered the Emperor's road. Was he, Xiao Chen, going to fall on this road as well, becoming a stepping stone for others? At the crucial moment, melodious zither music rang out in the air. It was pleasing to the ears, startling the surroundings. There was only one note in the zither music, but it lingered on endlessly, singing endlessly. There were not many words that could describe how wondrous this zither music was. High mountains and flowing rivers found it hard to find a soulmate, lonely songs no one could understand. Along with the appearance of the zither music, A phoenix shrouded in auspicious qi and radiating multicolored light moved upon hearing the music and flew over. The zither music startled the phoenix, and a melodious divine might spread out from the phoenix. It spread its wings and flew over, shielding Xiaoqin. The sudden change surprised Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi. The pleasing zither music summoned the phoenix, easily diluting the startling killing moves that the two executed. As for Xiaoqin, he managed to catch his breath. His aura erupted, and he sent out the cold qi in his body. Pala! Pala! When the cold qi that leaked out of Xiaoqian's body met the air, it immediately turned into scarlet ice beads and fell to the ground. Xiaoqian paled slightly. However, his body had already recovered to normal. His limbs and bones could move without any hindrance. In the sky, Yu Bingyun hugged a seven-stringed zither, looking like a fairy as she slowly descended. When Fei Lingyi saw the zither in Yu Bingyun's embrace, his expression changed. He exclaimed in extreme shock, "Transcendent divine weapon, startling wind zither." To think that the Lunar Palace's transcendent divine weapon was in Yu Bingyun's hands. This news was somewhat unacceptable to Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi. There were only 10 transcendent divine weapons in the world. Each one of them could shake the world and kick up a bloody storm. Even if Yu Bingyun could not bring out the full might of the startling wind zither, as long as she could play it, it would be easy to block them. Ding! Ding! Dong! 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 Not giving the two much time to think, Yu Bingyun, who was descending, moved her hands and played ancient music. A horrifying aura spread out from the zither. The sound of the zither transformed into numerous sharp blades of sound waves. They were sabers, swords, spears, and axes, and they pierced through the void and attacked the two of them continuously like a storm. Under the concentrated attacks, the two could only defend passively. They each sent out a screen of swords, unable to advance. However, even though the two defended with all their might, the sound waves still inflicted wounds of various sizes on their bodies. They kept retreating in a sorry state, not showing any signs of fighting spirit at all. As Yu Bingyun played the startling wind zither, colorful ribbons fluttered behind her, giving off a bright light. Xiaoqian's momentum was unblockable, forcing the two half-step martial emperors into retreat. His momentum flourished. However, Xiaoqian keenly discovered that with every note, Yu Bingyun's fine black hair dimmed a little. After a while, all her fine black hair turned white. "Let's go!" After forcing the two half-step Emperor Wu to fight the blue-robed Emperor blood-sucking monsters again, Yu Bingyun retreated to Xiaoqian's side and led him into this mysterious space. Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi could catch up at any moment. Although Xiaoqian had many questions in his heart, he knew that this was not the time to ask. Oh no! Xiaoqian's and Yu Bingyun's steps paused at the same time. There was actually no path in front. A deep abyss blocked their way. If it was an ordinary deep abyss, the two could easily fly over it. However, this deep abyss was extraordinary. The two had felt the mysterious suction from earlier in this deep abyss. Sonic booms rang out endlessly behind them. It was Fei Lingyi and Bing Xuejian. After forcing back the blue-robed Emperor blood-sucking monsters again, they charged over. The two's wounds from the startling wind zither had not healed yet. They were covered in blood, exuding a horrifying aura. Since becoming half-step Emperor Wu, when had the two ever suffered at the hands of the blue-robed Emperor? They probably felt frustrated. If Xiaoqian and Yu Bingyun got caught, they would definitely die a miserable death. Jump. The deep abyss was horrifying, but there was still a chance of survival. If the two behind caught up, there would be no chance at all. The two were decisive people, not wishy-washy at all. They seemed to understand each other and jumped down at the same time. In this deep abyss, the suction was even more horrifying. The two could not help crying out. They shot forward like arrows, unable to control themselves at all. In a few breaths, they crashed heavily to the ground. Yu Bingyun and Xiaoqian, who were stuck to the ground, were somewhat shocked to discover that even raising their arms was extremely difficult. Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi, who were charging over, felt the edge of the deep abyss and quickly stopped. Chapter 1164. When facing the strange deep abyss, the two cautiously chose to stop. They did not want to experience that strange state of being unable to move again. What should we do? Fei Lingyi looked at Bing Xuejian. Bing Xuejian said indifferently, "You have the jade. Go down and check it out. If we let these two escape, we will suffer a great loss and lose all our face." Scram. Your sword soul is already 70% comprehended. Together with the will of ice, it is undefeatable. Why don't you go down first? Fei Lingyi scolded. The two clashed with each other, neither willing to go down first. Speaking of which, Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun, who had reached the bottom of the deep abyss, did not feel good at all. Their bodies stuck to the ground. No matter how hard they tried, they could not move at all. What was even worse was that his internal organs, flesh and bones were being pulled and squeezed by the strange ground. If they could not think of a solution in a while, their internal organs would be torn apart. At that time, his death would be as miserable as it could be. Don't panic. This is the true cultivation place of the Blood Sword Sovereign. The gravity here is 100 times stronger than elsewhere. After you get used to it, it will not be difficult for you to slowly stand up. Don't scare yourself to death. At the critical moment, Ao Jiao said from the immortal spirit ring. However, she continued, your physical body is strong, so there should not be any problems. However, that woman will be somewhat problematic. It is hard to say whether she can last until her physical body gets used to the environment here. Xiao Chen, who had just released his bated breath, could not help feeling anxious when he heard that. He turned his head with much difficulty to look at Yu Bingyun. Indeed, the white-haired Yu Bingyun showed an expression of pain. Blood leaked out of a corner of her lips, and she looked incredibly pale. The originally aloof lunar palace holy daughter no longer had any of her elegant and otherworldly air. Xiao Chen's heart suddenly sank. He did not like owing favors. If Yu Bingyun died here, he would feel guilty for life, forming an indelible shadow in his heart. What should I do? I have to stand up first. Otherwise, I cannot circulate my energy to treat my injuries and recover to my peak state. If Xiao Chen was at his peak, he should be able to walk to the other party's side if he used his blue dragon war body again. However, the prerequisite was that he could stand up. Yu Bingyun was muddle-headed and in unbearable pain. She was in a daze, feeling like she was really going to die this time. Her 5 viscera and 6 bowels had been torn apart by the gravitational pull, and blood was everywhere. It wouldn't be long before she died from her shattered internal organs. She was completely powerless, and in this dizzy state, she was already prepared to die. Yu Bingyun, hold on. Don't die here. Give me 1 hour. 1 hour. You have to hold on for 1 hour. Right at that moment, a loud roar entered her ears. His voice was filled with anxiety, urgency, and unquestionable confidence. Hold on. Wait for me for an hour. After an hour, I'll come and save you. Yu Bingyun opened her eyes with some difficulty and saw Xiao Chen, who was not far away. He was currently doing his best to stand up, staring at her. The two's gazes met, and Xiao Chen revealed a smile with some difficulty. Don't be so useless. Don't forget your status. You are the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, after all, someone with a venerated status. I, Xiao Chen, have always been cursed by others to the point that I cannot die. You will not die either. Just wait for me for 1 hour. Yu Bingyun felt somewhat speechless. She wanted to say something but found that she could not. Her vocal cords moved slightly, and it affected her wounds. Don't say anything. Just listen to me. Xiao Chen knew that it was not convenient for the other party to speak at this moment. However, she needed someone to talk to her. Otherwise, if she fell asleep, she would never wake up again. Xiao Chen quickly stopped Yu Bingyun, who wanted to speak. After saying that, Xiao Chen, who had been preparing for a long time, clenched his fists and hammered the ground ferociously. Xiao Chen's entire upper body left the ground, and he nearly got up. However, he did not have enough momentum. The gravity pulled him down, and after Xiao Chen got up, he fell back down heavily. This strike was not light. When Xiao Chen opened his mouth, he vomited a mouthful of blood. Ignoring his injuries, he mocked Yu Bingyun somewhat self-deprecatingly. Before he could even wipe away the blood at the corner of his lips, Xiao Chen continued storing up power, preparing for the next attempt. Bang, bang, bang. Dull thuds resounded endlessly in the deep abyss. Every time they rang out, it meant that Xiao Chen failed once. Xiao Chen did not know how many times he failed, but he did not intend to give up. Every time he failed, he would look at Yu Bingyun and chat with her. After Xiao Chen verified that she had not fallen asleep, he prepared for the next attempt. Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, could no longer bear to watch. She said, "You idiot, stop trying. Be careful that you will not be able to save the other party and end up killing yourself." Little Ao Jiao, stop saying that. She ended up in such a state because she tried to save me. If I ignore her, I will feel guilty for the rest of my life. I will be a man in vain. Xiao Chen replied to Ao Jiao in his heart. Then he continued to try. He felt like he had broken several bones in his back. However, the repeated failures gave him a lot of experience, allowing him to grasp some techniques for circulating his energy in this gravity. As he familiarized himself with these techniques, Xiao Chen believed that he could adapt to the environment here and stand up earlier. In the end, he could not wipe away the blood leaking out of the corner of Xiao Chen's lips. This made his delicate face look somewhat ugly and horrifying. Compared to the unrivaled elegance that Xiao Chen had shown at the Four Seas Hero Gathering, the current Xiao Chen did not have any of his past aura. However, every time this bloody face looked at her, Yu Bingyun did not feel any repulsion. Instead, she felt especially at ease and an indescribable pain. If she could speak, she would definitely shout to stop Xiao Chen. The intense pain after every failure was simply unbearable. At some point in time, a tear fell from the corner of her eye. Bang! Another loud sound rang out, and Xiao Chen landed heavily. However, this time, he did not immediately speak to Yu Bingyun. He just lay there motionlessly. Yu Bingyun's heart sank. Xiao Chen was definitely too severely injured and could not hold on. The two of them were going to die here. Just as Yu Bingyun felt very nervous and worried, Xiao Chen, who had been silent for a while, roared ferociously. Then, Xiao Chen clenched his fists and punched the ground heavily again. His upper body soared up again. When the gravity pressed down, Xiao Chen's vital qi surged like a gushing river, gushing endlessly. After using up all of his strength, his body had finally adapted to the gravitational environment here after thousands of failures. His qi could circulate in a circular manner. Then, Xiao Chen flipped over and knelt on one knee, panting heavily. After a while, he looked up at Yu Bingyun. When he discovered that she had not closed her eyes yet, he revealed a smile. 1 hour is just right. Don't give up. I'm coming over immediately. The kneeling Xiao Chen slowly got up. Then he walked over to Yu Bingyun with much difficulty. When Xiao Chen reached her side, he quickly took out some medicinal pills for treating injuries, which he bought at the blue-robed emperor auction, and fed them to her. After that, Xiao Chen slowly helped Yu Bingyun up. After being here for so long, she had already gotten used to it. He had gotten used to it, and the process of helping the other party up wasn't too difficult. Without saying anything more, Xiao Chen threw a palm strike on Yu Bingyun's back. Then he infused his law energy into her body, speeding up the recovery of the medicinal energy. At the same time, it helped Yu Bingyun recover from the injuries to her internal organs. As the king-grade medicinal pills slowly permeated her body, Yu Bingyun's body started to recover quickly. To Xiao Chen's surprise, Yu Bingyun had law energy circulating in a special meridian. However, a blood clot blocked a certain meridian, preventing it from circulating smoothly. Instead, it aggravated Yu Bingyun's injuries. This should be the Lunar Palace's profound cultivation technique, the longevity art. Xiao Chen immediately circulated his energy and melted the blood clot, opening up that meridian. The longevity art immediately circulated quickly. After it automatically circulated once, Yu Bingyun's injuries miraculously healed by half. Such a healing effect was incredible. The longevity art was truly profound. After Yu Bingyun's condition stabilized and the longevity art could continue circulating, Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief. Then he let Yu Bingyun lie down slowly. After putting a healing pill into his mouth, he began to slowly heal himself. There were not many surprises. Time passed quietly. After one night, the two had more or less recovered. Their bodies had already adapted to this strange gravity. Although it was still difficult for them to move, they no longer had much of a problem standing up. Yu Bingyun opened her eyes, and her complexion recovered its rosy color. She looked radiant, regaining the air of a holy daughter. She carefully sat up and immediately looked to the side. However, she did not see the figure she wanted to see. Yu Bingyun immediately looked around in a fluster. Only then did she discover that Xiaochen was standing in front of a wall, paying close attention to it. Hearing the commotion behind him, Xiaochen quickly turned his head back and discovered that Yu Bingyun's white hair had already turned back into elegant black hair. He suppressed the doubts in his heart and smiled. "You're awake." Yu Bingyun nodded and shifted her gaze away from Xiaochen's back. Then, she asked carefully, "How are the injuries on your back?" Xiaochen replied calmly, "They're already healed. I have a peak sage body and the blue dragon war body. This level of injury is nothing to me." "How did you endure that kind of pain yesterday?" Yu Bingyun asked after thinking for a long time. When she thought of Xiaochen's actions yesterday, Yu Bingyun still felt some lingering fear in her heart. Even now, Yu Bingyun still felt some lingering fear in her heart. She simply did not know how Xiaochen managed to persevere. Was it for her? Xiaochen smiled faintly and said, "In the past, when I was cultivating my physical body, I experienced even more pain than this. There was also the lightning tribulation, which was even more unbearable. Now that I think about it, compared to the pain I experienced in the past, yesterday's pain is not even worth mentioning." When Yu Bingyun heard this, she was stunned. Xiaochen was famous and had a bright appearance. Among the same generation, he was a king. What exactly did he experience? Chapter 1165. The kind of pain that made people feel the same way yesterday, in his mouth, was actually not worth mentioning. Let's not talk about this for now. This is not something glorious. If I had not worked too hard in the past, I would not have only 4 years left. Xiaochen paused for a while, and his gaze fell on the startling wind zither beside Yu Bingyun. He had many questions to ask as well. What's with this startling wind zither? With your strength, you should not be able to activate it, right? The merfolk race's Yao Yen had sacrificed 8 great perfection Emperor Wu's lives to give her the strength to activate a primordial emperor treasure. Xiaochen did not believe that the lunar palace would be so bold, sacrificing so many Emperor Wus to help Yu Bingyun. Yu Bingyun gave it a try and struggled to her feet. Then she picked up the startling wind zither and said, "Playing one note costs me a portion of my lifespan. When I played earlier, I used up 10 years of my lifespan." Xiaochen's pupils constricted in some incredulity. "Don't be nervous." Yu Bingyun smiled and said, "Cultivators who cultivate the longevity art have extremely long lifespans. With the heavenly origin pill you gave me, even if I do not become Emperor Wu, I will still have a long lifespan of 1,000 years. Xiaochen felt enlightened. However, even so, using up 10 years of her lifespan on a whim still made him feel heartache. "Actually, as long as I do not play the complete song, it will not harm my foundation. However, without the complete song, I cannot bring out the might of the startling wind zither. I need to cultivate the longevity art to the 9th layer before I can be confident of playing the complete song." With just one note, Yu Bingyun could force 2 half-step Emperor Wus to retreat, forcing them to defend passively. Xiaochen felt some anticipation. If it was the complete song, what kind of glory would this transcendent divine weapon show? "Oh, by the way, what were you looking at earlier? You were so engrossed in it." Xiaochen smiled mysteriously and said, "Come with me." The two moved with great difficulty. In this world where gravity doubled, they walked forward step by step. This scene looked very funny. When Yu Bingyun walked over and saw the painting on the wall, a strange light flashed in her eyes. The painting was very simple. There was only a person, a sword, and a pair of eyes that no one dared to look directly at. There were not many traces of the swordsman in the painting, only a simple silhouette. However, the sword intent of the person in the painting still surged boundlessly even after 50,000 years. With just a few glances, Yu Bingyun felt an unparalleled sharp sword intent enter her sea of consciousness, instantly coming to life and materializing a boundlessly profound sword technique. This sword technique was tyrannical and unyielding. Every strike could pierce the sky and tear space. As his silhouette flickered, he exuded a surging, blood-boiling fighting spirit, causing others to feel as if their blood was burning as well. When Yu Bingyun finished materializing this sword technique, a strange expression flashed on her face. She said, "This is a medial-grade profound sword technique. Its might is unfathomable, extremely profound." Xiao Chen nodded. There were dozens of paintings on the walls, all of which contained the Blood Sword Sovereign's sword moves. Every single one of them was a mid-grade profound sword technique. Even after more than 50,000 years, these sword intents still hadn't disappeared. This only served to highlight how powerful these sword intents were. Unfortunately, there is no way to record the profound martial techniques here. You and I are not swordsmen, it's such a pity. Yu Bingyun shook her head slightly and sighed. The value of medial-grade profound martial techniques went without saying. In Yu Bingyun's memories, the entire lunar palace only had 10-odd medial-grade profound martial techniques. There were too few choices. None of them were suitable for her. It wasn't that the weapons were different, it was that their wills were conflicting. In the Kunlun realm, the number of cultivators who used swords was probably the highest. There were so many medial-grade profound sword moves here. If he brought it out, who knew what kind of sky-high price it would fetch? Perhaps even Emperor Wu would fight over it. Xiao Chen smiled mysteriously and said, "That's not all. Take a look at your will and see if it has improved." When Yu Bingyun heard this, she closed her eyes. After a while, she revealed a joyful expression on her face. She opened her eyes and said, "My will of water improved by minor perfection. What's going on? This is too wondrous." Xiao Chen glanced at the wall and said, "I just discovered it. The sword intent in this wall has the ability to temper the will. However, it is rather simple this time. If you want to temper it later, you will need to endure some danger. Let these sword intents enter deeper into your sea of consciousness, fighting with your will. If you lose, the moment your will breaks, it will be extremely unbearable." When Yu Bingyun heard this, she was startled. Let the sword intents enter the depths of the sea of consciousness? If you are not careful, you might end up becoming an idiot. Xiao Chen smiled and did not say anything more. If one wanted to obtain something, one had to take some risks. Xiao Chen felt that this risk was worth taking. Aside from tempering the will, the strong sword intent that the Blood Sword Sovereign left behind had a greater use for tempering Xiao Chen's saber soul. Xiao Chen's saber soul had already reached 50% comprehension and was extremely difficult to raise. He absolutely could not miss out on this fortuitous encounter before him. Thinking of something, Xiao Chen handed the life and death art in his hand over and said, "Take a look at this life and death art first." Yu Bingyun received the life and death art with some surprise. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen let her read the life and death art that he obtained after so much difficulty. "What about you? After all, I can't go out for now. I'll just cultivate here in peace for a while. With such gravity, there will definitely be great benefits to cultivating, be it my movement technique, cultivation, or physical body." Yu Bingyun smiled and said, "It looks like you are extraordinarily optimistic. In that case, I'll take a look at this life and death art first. After you finish cultivating, I'll explain it to you and discuss the mysteries of the life and death art together." In the following days, Yu Bingyun read quietly, and Xiao Chen started cultivating bitterly. Xiao Chen arranged his time very strictly for cultivation. In the morning, he would practice his movement technique. With this 100-fold gravity, the effects on his movement technique were the most obvious. In the afternoon, he would observe the murals and temper his saber soul. In the afternoon, he would temper his physical body and cultivate the blue dragon body nourishing art. At night, he would consume essence stones, allowing his cultivation to advance rapidly, heading toward the peak of great perfection blue-robed emperor. Time slowly went by. Soon, the two had spent a week in this place where the Blood Sword Sovereign once cultivated. During this week, the two had been rather fulfilled. They did not feel bored or frustrated. On the other hand, Bing Xuejian, Fei Lingyi, and the remaining 4 consummation blue-robed emperors did not have it easy. They were already incredibly frustrated, their patience wearing thin. However, they did not have the courage to jump down themselves. There were too many unpredictable things, making Bing Xuejin and Fei Lingyi very apprehensive. This won't do. We cannot afford to waste time here, Fei Lingyi said indifferently. Bing Xuejin retorted coldly, I already told you to go down and take a look. You have the jadeite so you can retreat safely. Jin Liangqi and the other 3 consummation blue-robed emperors also looked at Fei Lingyi. Fei Lingyi had the strongest individual combat prowess here. He was the most suitable to go down. Fei Lingyi retorted angrily, don't even think about it. Below us is the source of the gravity. If I go down, something unexpected might happen. Bing Xuejin smiled coldly and said, I thought you had some good ideas. Unexpectedly, you are still a coward. What I said is equivalent to not saying anything. Fei Lingyi glanced at the pitch-black deep abyss and said, who says I don't have any ideas? Of those 5 coffins, aren't there still 2 that have not been opened? Toss 2 down and let these blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters scout the way for us. At the very least, we will be able to obtain some information from the sounds. When the others heard this, their eyes lit up. They knew very well how horrifying the blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters were. When the few of them worked together, they spent a lot of effort before completely killing the 2 blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters that Xiao Chen released. Furthermore, these blood-sucking monsters clearly had a stronger resistance to gravity than humans. If they released 2, it would definitely be more than enough to deal with Xiao Chen. Even if they could not obtain the life and death art, they could prevent Xiao Chen from obtaining it. Bing Xuejin swept his gaze over Jin Liangqi and the others indifferently. He said, the few of you, go and bring those 2 coffins over. Although Jin Liangqi and the others were not happy about this, they had no choice but to obey. They still had to rely on Bing Xuejin to deal with Fei Lingyi. Soon, the 2 coffins were brought over. Bing Xuejin glanced at the deep abyss and said, Brat, you gave me a gift earlier. Now I will give you a big gift as well. Bing Xuejin opened the 2 coffins. Then he sent out a palm strike and pushed the coffins down. Bang, bang, bang. 2 loud sounds came from below. The group of people stood at the edge of the deep abyss and did their best to look down, wanting to know what was happening below. The sonic booms immediately startled Xiao Chen, who cultivated the Thunder Dragon steps. Now that Xiao Chen executed the Thunder Dragon steps, he could jump 300 meters freely in this place where the gravity was 100 times stronger. His movement technique had clearly improved, and he could summon out 12 lightning dragons to increase his speed. Be careful! Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he took 10 steps in the air, leaving behind a lightning dragon image with each step. After 10 steps, Xiao Chen arrived beside Yu Bingyun. The remnant dragon image in the air instantly entered his body. This allowed Xiao Chen's explosive power to increase further. Then, he quickly carried Yu Bingyun away. Put, put, put. Amid loud sounds, the 2 blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters landed where Yu Bingyun had been. Unexpectedly, these 2 blood-sucking monsters did not lie on the ground. Instead, they were standing. They were in a much better state than when Xiao Chen first fell into this place. However, when Xiao Chen saw these 3 blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters, he did not show any fear. He smiled faintly and said, You came at a good time. I happen to need to test the results of my cultivation during this period. Don't make a move. Leave it to me alone. A strong fighting spirit flickered in Xiao Chen's eyes as he gestured for Yu Bingyun not to make a move, letting him do it alone. Can you do it? Yu Bingyun found this slightly strange. The difficulty of dealing with these blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters was clear for all to see. Even Bing Xuejin and Fei Lingyi could not deal with them quickly. Xiao Chen stepped forward and said calmly, If we were outside, I would not be very confident. However, here, I am 99% confident. Chapter 1166. Thunder Dragon Steps. Moving his feet, Xiao Chen flickered with crackling sparks. With each step, he left behind a dragon-shaped figure as he charged forward. When the two blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters smelled Xiao Chen's flourishing qi and blood, their eyes flickered with a red light. Disgusting liquid leaked out of the corners of their mouths. Despite the hundredfold gravity, the blood-sucking monsters moved frantically, clashing with Xiao Chen's attacks. In close combat, Xiao Chen's fists, palms, and claws moved rapidly. In one moment he executed the deity race's myriad heaven divine fist. In the next moment he executed the thousand-year flame, which he comprehended himself. In the next moment he turned into a sharp dragon claw. Xiao Chen's figure flickered as the attacks of the two blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters moved as fast as the wind. None of their attacks could hit him. In an environment with 100-fold gravity, Xiao Chen's movement technique and physical body had a natural advantage. The two blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters could not touch him at all. After several dozen moves, Xiao Chen sent out the thousand-year flame with one palm strike and thousand-year death with the other. The two completely different states appeared to be in perfect balance in Xiao Chen's hands, waiting for the moment to erupt. When it was time to erupt, one side was surging with a fiery bright moon. The other side was covered with flowers and a scarlet moon. The two blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters could not resist at all. They exploded into pieces and flew away. However, the blood-sucking monster's strength had never come from explosive power or combat prowess. Instead, it came from their unparalleled recovery ability. Just as their shattered bodies were about to fall from the air, they quickly merged back together with a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. When the blood-sucking monsters landed, they could already move freely on the ground. The aura they exuded was even more frightening. Is it really unkillable? With a flip of his palm, the lunar shadow saber appeared in Xiao Chen's left hand. The saber intent in his sea of consciousness started to circulate, spreading throughout his entire body. After driving the flawless saber Dao, Xiao Chen's clothes and hair fluttered without any wind. A sharp saber intent spread out from his body without restraint. The two blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters glanced at Xiao Chen and roared before rushing over. Its adaptability was unexpectedly strong. Compared to before, the speed of the blood-sucking monster was clearly much faster. Yu Bingyun frowned slightly, wanting to make a move. She needed to end this quickly. Otherwise, the longer this dragged on, the more disadvantageous the situation would be for Xiao Chen. When the two quasi-emperor-level blood-sucking monsters completely adapted to the gravity here, no matter how capable Xiao Chen was, he would not be a match for them. Yu Bingyun, just as the two blood-sucking monsters approached, Xiao Chen slowly spat out a word and instantly drew his lunar shadow saber. Whoosh, whoosh. The saber soul that he had been storing up for a long time erupted at this moment. Yu Bingyun was astonished. The saber soul in Xiao Chen's heart was already infinitely close to 60% comprehension. All sorts of mysterious phenomena flashed amid the magnificent saber light. This was Xiao Chen's strongest profound martial technique, Instant of Glory, a profound martial technique that could condense all the saber techniques into it. Only one saber strike, Eternal Glory. Before the two blue-robed emperor-level blood-sucking monsters could react, the light infused with the lightning saber soul instantly tore them into pieces and fixed them in a painting. The fresh blood added a trace of ice-cold killing intent to this boundlessly resplendent painting. It was not over yet. At the crucial moment, Xiao Chen perfectly merged his state of death and saber soul into eternity. Xiao Chen gently pushed off the ground and entered that beautiful painting. The Death Saber Soul worked together with the Four-Season Saber technique and started a frenzied massacre. Xiao Chen minced the two blood-sucking monsters that had been torn into pieces again, cutting off all signs of life. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber, and the sound of glass shattering rang out. This glorious painting shattered with the sound of shattering. Its flourishing splendor faded away, no longer glorious. The two emperor-grade blood-sucking monsters turned into ashes and vanished, unable to recover. A strange light flickered in Yu Bingyun's eyes. Xiao Chen's earlier saber strike seemed to have touched upon the borders of the state of space. The instant Xiao Chen used the saber, he materialized hundreds of mysterious phenomena, forming a painting that fixed space in place. It was precisely because the space was fixed that the blood-sucking monster, which had extremely strong regenerative abilities, did not reform immediately after it was shattered. Xiaochen, what was that move of yours called? Yu Bingyun asked quickly, unable to hold back her curiosity. The state of space was something that even Emperor Wu found hard to comprehend. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen touched upon its borders. Xiaochen answered honestly, "Instant of glory." What about it? Nothing. The moment Yu Bingyun said that, she regretted it. This matter definitely touched on Xiaochen's secrets. How could she ask so directly? If Yu Bingyun continued asking, she would touch on the other party's core secrets. Hence, she quickly stopped asking. However, she could not get rid of the curiosity in her heart. Xiaochen looked at Yu Bingyun's appearance, wanting to ask but not daring to. He could not help finding it funny. He said, "I comprehended this move myself. It can unleash the states of all my martial techniques in an instant. I just discovered it as well. As my strength increased, this move touched upon the boundaries of the state of space. It is not me who touched upon the borders of the state of space. I am still very far from it." Yu Bingyun showed a slightly embarrassed expression. She had not expected Xiaochen to see through her and tell her the secret honestly. Yu Bingyun quickly changed the topic. "What should we do now? These two blue-robed emperor-grade blood-sucking monsters must have been thrown down by them." Xiaochen smiled casually. "There's no need to worry. We can afford to waste time. Just stay here and cultivate in peace. If they dare to come down, even if it is Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi, I will not let them return alive." At the end of Xiaochen's words, the tyrannical aura that he unintentionally exuded made everyone's heart tremble, not daring to doubt it. Above the deep chasm, the people paying attention to the commotion below heard the sound of sabers. The unique roars of the blue-robed emperor-grade blood-sucking monsters did not appear again. Without a doubt, his expression became very ugly. The result went without saying. Based on the sounds alone, Xiaochen's saber technique finished off the two blue-robed emperor-grade blood-sucking monsters. Just like that, Bing Xuejian and Fei Lingyi, who had been hesitant and had run out of patience, made their own decisions. They absolutely could not jump into this deep chasm. Otherwise, they might really end up dying at the hands of this junior, Xiaochen. Since they could not jump down, they could only wait here. To the half-step Emperor Wu, they simply could not afford to waste any more time. In the end, there was only one option left: leave. Bing Xuejian snorted coldly and looked down deeply. Then he turned around and left decisively. Fei Lingyi's eyes flickered. Clearly, he had not expected that this life and death art would end up in the hands of a junior. Fei Lingyi stomped his feet and left helplessly in the end. Jin Liangqi and the others exchanged glances, not knowing what to do. Should they stay or leave? They could not make a choice. After discussing for a while without any results, Jin Liangqi said, "Let's wait a while more. They are half-step Emperor Wu. Time is very precious. We are all consummation blue-robed emperors. Wasting 1 or 2 months here is not a problem. But we'll wait for another 2 months. I don't believe that this fellow will not come out. At that time, the instant they appear, we will attack at the same time. Do not give them any chance to resist, lest something unexpected happens." What could possibly happen? We are 4 peak consummation blue-robed emperors. Dealing with 2 great perfection blue-robed emperors will be easy. In that case, it's settled. The 2 half-step Emperor Wu left feeling depressed. Now, only 4 consummation blue-robed emperors remained above the deep chasm, continuing to wait for Xiaochen to appear. However, these 4 did not know that when Xiaochen truly showed his strength, how could they deal with him? Bush. At the bottom of the deep chasm, Xiaochen took 7 steps in the air. With each step, he rose 100 meters. When he rose 700 meters, he felt the pull of gravity becoming too strong, so he turned around and fell. Not far away, Yu Bingyun put down the life and death art. She smiled and said, "Not bad. You improved significantly from 3 days ago. If you go out, your movement technique will improve by at least 20%. Xiaochen estimated the height of the deep chasm to be about 5 kilometers. If it were any other place, he could instantly fly up in one breath. However, the gravity here was 100 times stronger than outside. Xiao Qin used his full power and could only climb 700 meters. Wiping the sweat off his forehead, Xiao Qin asked, "How is the life and death art? Is this secret technique reliable?" This was the greatest harvest of this trip. Xiao Qin had high hopes for it. Whether he could condense the heart of an emperor or not depended on the life and death art in Yu Bingyun's hands. "I only read a third of it. The words in it are too cryptic and difficult to pronounce. However, it is most likely correct. The life and death art can indeed allow one to condense the heart of an emperor in advance," Yu Bingyun answered honestly. Given her talent, comprehension ability, and experience, since she said that, it really could not be wrong. Xiao Qin could not help but be in a good mood. What he feared the most was wasting too much time on the consummation blue-robed emperor stage, missing the opportunity to advance to martial emperor. Now, it looked like as long as he had this life and death art, he should not have any problems breaking through to consummation blue-robed emperor within 2 years. After that, he would spend another 2 years to prepare and clear his great tribulation of wind and fire in one go, opening the emperor's door. Although the plan was ingenious, the risks involved were indescribable. Spending only 2 years to prepare was still too short. If one was not careful during the great tribulation of wind and fire, they would most likely die, consigned to eternal damnation. Regular consummation blue-robed emperors would find it hard to make up their minds even after preparing for 100 years. Even outstanding talents would need at least 5 years to prepare before they were confident of clearing their great tribulation of wind and fire. However, no matter what, this was good news. Without the life and death art, Xiao Qin estimated that he would have to spend at least 3 years on the great perfection blue-robed emperor stage, perhaps even 4. At that time, the time left for him would be practically 0. Xiao Qin withdrew his gaze and went to a new wall painting. Then, he started to use the sword intent that the blood sword sovereign left behind 50,000 years ago to temper his saber soul. Now that half a month had passed, Xiao Qian's 50% comprehended saber soul was already infinitely close to 60% comprehended. After all, the blood sword sovereign's half-step Emperor Wu's sword soul was only 70% comprehended. However, Fei Lingyi's sword soul was only 60% comprehended. Right now, Xiao Qin was only a great perfection blue-robed emperor, but his saber soul was already so profound. This showed how horrifying it was. When Yu Bingyun saw this scene, she shook her head. After she tried it once, she did not use the sword intent to temper herself again. Not to mention the pain, it was extremely dangerous. It felt like her soul was dancing on the edge of a saber. Chapter 1167. Only Xiao Qian had the courage and perseverance to use this sword intent to temper himself. The days went by unhurriedly. After another month, Xiao Qian's saber soul finally broke through 50% comprehension, reaching 60% comprehension. Rumor said that when one's saber soul reached 100% comprehension, the gaze of one's gaze could turn into a tangible blade, killing with one look. Now that Xiao Qian's saber soul reached 60% comprehension, the most obvious change was the strength of his aura. Yu Bingyun estimated that even a consummation blue-robed emperor would feel their soul tremble when standing before Xiao Qian. Xiao Qian's movement technique also improved rapidly. He completely cultivated the Thunder Dragon steps to great perfection. In one breath, he could take 18 steps. Each step left behind a dragon-shaped afterimage that lingered for a long time. Xiao Qian's body became like a dragon, crackling with electric light. The tyrannical nature of this movement technique was completely manifested. When fighting with an enemy, it could infinitely boost Xiao Qian's aura, perfectly complementing his various saber techniques. With the aid of the essence stones, Xiao Qian's cultivation advanced rapidly. In a short 1.5 months, he was already not far from the peak of great perfection blue-robed emperor. Xiao Qian, who had improved significantly in all aspects, felt very proud of himself. Just as he was about to charge into the deep abyss, he received some bad news. After 1.5 months, Yu Bingyun finally finished reading the life and death art. After reading it, she dealt Xiao Chen a heavy blow. By cultivating the life and death art to the 9th layer, Yu Bingyun could help the blue-robed emperor condense a heart of an emperor in advance. However, the prerequisite was that Xiao Chen needed 2 things to assist him: the flower of life and the death fruit. This was not strange. Several special martial techniques and cultivation techniques in the world required some natural treasures to be cultivated. Unfortunately, these 2 natural treasures had already gone extinct 10,000 years ago. Without the flower of life and the death fruit, one could not cultivate the life and death art, not even the 1st layer. Yu Bingyun closed the life and death art and said, "I originally thought that without these 2 natural treasures, cultivation would just be slightly more difficult. After reading it, I realized that without the flower of life and the death fruit, it would be impossible to properly cultivate. I recall that there should be some flowers of life in the human demon sea, which is the blood sword sovereign's hometown. However, the death fruit is truly extinct. It has already been 10,000 years since a death fruit has appeared. Many ghost race great emperors have been searching for a death fruit at an astronomical price. If it existed, it would have appeared long ago. What kind of place was the human demon sea? After Yu Bingyun explained, Xiao Chen learned that the people living there were mostly demon mixed bloods like the blood sword sovereign or fiendish demon mixed bloods. It was extremely far from the heavenly starry ocean and the Black Sea. After receiving the life and death art from Yu Bingyun, Xiao Chen started pondering it. His expression appeared somewhat depressed. Unexpectedly, the treasure that he had obtained after so much difficulty ended up like this. He was truly somewhat dissatisfied. "Xiao Chen, I can help you find the death fruit." Just at this moment, Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, seemed to have made up her mind. "You have the death fruit? It is not me who has it. Back then, the Thunder King killed a ghost race great emperor. There was a death fruit among the spoils of war. When you cultivate to peak great perfection, the blue-robed emperor, I will bring you to the place where the Thunder King's inheritance is." Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. He had found the death fruit that Yu Bingyun said was extinct. In that case, all he had to do was go to the human demon sea and obtain the flower of life. Then he could still cultivate the life and death art. There was still hope. Don't be too happy yet. The human demon sea is not as simple as you think. It is hard to say whether you can obtain the flower of life or not, Ao Jiao said somewhat worriedly. "What's wrong? You've been to the human demon sea before?" "What nonsense! The Thunder King's inheritance is in the human demon sea. How could I not have been there before?" Xiao Chen's heart wavered slightly. Ao Jiao had always been unwilling to go and obtain the Thunder King's inheritance. Aside from some special reason, could it be that the Thunder King's inheritance was in the human demon sea? Seeing that Ao Jiao was unwilling to say more, Xiao Chen did not pursue the matter. In the remaining few days, Xiao Chen studied the life and death art. Under the pressure of the gravity, his movement technique improved again. He felt that he could already leap out of the deep abyss, so he planned to bring Yu Bingyun away. "Let's go." Xiao Chen woke up Yu Bingyun, who was still cultivating, and explained his intentions. A look of reluctance flashed in Yu Bingyun's eyes. At the same time, she said apologetically, "It seems like I still need some time to adapt before I can go out. There is no need to go through so much trouble. I'll bring you out directly." Before Yu Bingyun understood what Xiao Chen meant, Xiao Chen hugged her tightly. Then, they broke through the restrictions of the 100-fold gravity and soared into the air, heading for the top of the deep abyss. Suddenly, Yu Bingyun cried out softly in Xiao Chen's embrace. In her fluster, she instinctively wanted to struggle free. Xiao Chen did not say anything. He only hugged her tightly, not letting her struggle free. Xiao Chen had to adapt to his physical body for 1.5 months. After cultivating bitterly, he finally had the confidence to go up after much difficulty. If he waited for Yu Bingyun to go up on her own, she would have to spend at least 1 month. Clearly, this was unacceptable to Xiao Chen. "Don't move. We're going up soon." After the initial struggle, Yu Bingyun blushed slightly. She felt that her emotions were somewhat strange, so she tried to hide it and smiled. "Fortunately, you did not carry me up this time." This was a mockery of how Xiao Chen carried Yu Bingyun away without saying anything in the treasure master's residence. Xiao Chen smiled abashedly. Yu Bingyun was not the aloof holy daughter. She was not one of those overly traditional and aloof girls. This gave Xiao Chen a favorable impression of her. Jin Liangqi's group of 4, who were still sitting cross-legged above the deep abyss, heard the sonic boom. They all opened their eyes and quickly stood up. Prepare to attack. The few of them had endured for a long time and had been prepared for a long time. At this moment, they heard the wind. When they heard the sound of the wind, all of them showed solemn expressions, surging with killing chi. The aura of a consummation blue-robed emperor suddenly spread out. A strong wind howled, and the 4 strong auras merged together to form a formless mountain range, rising and falling indeterminately as it pressed down on the deep abyss. All they had to do was wait for the instant Xiao Chen came out and suppress him with all their might, instantly killing him. All sorts of profound martial techniques quickly brewed in their bodies. Jin Liangqi stared at the pitch-black deep abyss and said coldly, "After waiting for 1.5 months, you are finally here." Murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the other 3 old men, cold and emotionless. Aside from this, there was also some excitement, a fiery anticipation for the life and death art. In their opinion, working together to deal with 2 great perfection blue-robed emperors would be a piece of cake. There would not be any pressure. One consummation blue-robed emperor could easily suppress 4 or 5 great perfection blue-robed emperors. For consummation blue-robed emperors working together, if they could not take down 2 great perfection blue-robed emperors, it would be a joke. The wind howled, and the sound of the sonic boom grew increasingly piercing and sharper, making everyone tremble slightly. The 4's hearts pounded intensely as they stared at the deep abyss's entrance, not daring to relax for even a moment. The formless mountain range in the sky above the deep abyss layered over each other, inspiring a terrifying pressure. As the sound grew closer, the 4 started counting in their hearts. In less than 10 breaths of time, that white-robed bladesman would leave this world forever. When the 4 counted to 9, a fiery light appeared at the pitch-black entrance. A white figure seemed to be breaking through the final barrier of the deep abyss. Because the white figure moved too fast, the friction caused purple flames to burn. Jin Liangqi's eyes lit up, and he immediately roared, "Kill him!" Jin Liangqi's voice contained a boundless aura and overwhelming killing intent. The formless mountain range bore the brunt of the attack, pressing down on Xiao Chen, who was about to charge out. In the blink of an eye, the entire space began to shake violently. It was a shocking sight to behold. However, as the 4 expected, the scene of Xiao Chen clashing with the mountain range did not happen. The layers of formless mountains fell into the abyss as if they had missed their target. The 4 of them were shocked, unable to react in time. This was all part of their plan. The moment Xiao Chen came out, they would first use the vast aura to ruthlessly crush Xiao Chen's sharpness. Then, they would follow up with all sorts of killing moves to crush Xiao Chen. However, right now, the mountain range that was certain to hit actually failed to injure Xiao Chen, falling directly into the deep abyss. In that case, there was only one possibility: the white-robed bladesman was too fast. The instant the white-robed bladesman broke through the deep abyss's barrier, his speed multiplied, and he charged over the instant he fell. These 4 were all consummation blue-robed emperors who had experienced hundreds and thousands of battles. Their thoughts were as quick as lightning. After thinking quickly, they immediately came to such a conclusion. Retreat. The 4's expressions changed at the same time, and they pushed off the ground and quickly retreated. "You think you can retreat?" A cold snort rang out in the air. Then, the white figure carrying a delicate girl charged over. Thunder dragon steps, electric light shaking the heavens, body like a dragon. Amid the electric light, the horrifying aura of Xiao Chen's 60% comprehended saber's soul burst out ferociously. Xiao Chen carried Yu Bingyun with his left hand and held his saber with the other. He looked like a powerful killing god as he stepped on boundless electric light, moving as fast as a meteor. Xiao Chen's figure turned illusory. As electric light shot out, he swung his saber with each step. After 12 steps, he swung his saber 12 times. With the will of thunder infused with the 60% comprehended saber soul and the great perfection thunder dragon steps, Xiao Chen was unstoppable. Every time he swung his saber, he would knock back a consummation blue-robed emperor. Xiao Chen's speed was so fast that it felt like he swung his saber 12 times at the same time. Jin Liangqi and the other 3 each suffered 3 saber strikes. Blood flowed out of their wounds as electric light flashed. Their numbed bodies were in extreme pain. The 4 looked severely injured, but in reality, they were not fatally injured. Xiao Chen's 12 saber strikes focused on speed. They were not as mighty as martial techniques. Xiao Chen did not want to kill these 4 in one go. Instead, he wanted to disrupt the other party's formation and dampen their momentum. The true killing move was yet to come. After Jin Liangqi and the other 3 landed, they roared ferociously and immediately prepared to counterattack. However, Xiao Chen did not give these 4 a chance to make a comeback. If he left any openings, his 1.5 months of bitter cultivation would have been wasted. Chapter 1168. One saber of only me, instant eternal. 1,000 mysterious phenomena, 10,000 lights, this moment of glory, the mountains and rivers like a painting. In the next breath, Xiao Chen executed his strongest profound martial technique, instant of glory. Immediately, the mysterious phenomena of all sorts of martial techniques burst out with this saber strike. Peach blossoms drifted for 50 kilometers around, flowers hung high in the sky on a summer day, leaves fell in the autumn wind, a fiery bright moon soared into the sky, and many blue dragons flew everywhere, wagging their tails. All sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared in an instant, forming a glorious painting that froze the space. Jin Liangqi and the other 3 in the painting seemed to be locked in place, unable to move or even blink. Kasi. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber, and the glorious painting immediately shattered like glass. Kasi. Jin Liangqi and the other 3 fell to the ground and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. Horror filled their eyes. In that instant they suffered 3 heavy blows. The painting froze, and the various mysterious phenomena baptized them. This was not the most fatal blow. Given their cultivation as consummation blue-robed emperors, this kind of damage was not enough to deal any serious damage. The most horrifying thing was the second blow. When the painting shattered, it felt like space had shattered. Although this was far from true space shattering, the principle was roughly the same. The moment the painting shattered, they felt like their bodies were about to be torn into all sorts of shreds. Although his tough physical body was still intact, his internal organs had been torn apart, leaving horrifying cracks. The third layer was the damage caused by the backlash of their own martial skills being interrupted. With these 3 severe injuries, they had completely lost their combat prowess. Even if a martial monarch came, they would just be meat on the chopping block. "You're on your own," Xiao Chen said indifferently as he looked coldly at the 4 on the ground like stray dogs. Then he let go of Yu Bingyun. Then he soared into the air, preparing to leave this place. Soon, Bing Xuejin and Fei Lingyi would receive the news. He needed to leave Blackwater Island quickly. Yu Bingyun, who followed closely behind, felt dazed, like she was in a dream. There had never been a bladesman that Xiao Chen admired from the bottom of her heart. His tyrannical and magnificent saber techniques, his straightforward style, his cold as ice, but he did not become addicted to killing. His heart had never changed. Jin Liangqi and the others remained silent for a long time. As they watched Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun leave, their emotions became extremely complicated. This youth will definitely leave his name in history, becoming a giant bladesman of his generation. How terrifying. He actually didn't kill us. He probably didn't even look at us and didn't see us old fellows as a threat. Jin Liangqi laughed self-mockingly. He also felt that the experience just now was like a dream. However, it was a nightmare. If he had the chance, he definitely wouldn't want to experience it again. The Blood Sword Sovereign's residence was already a complete mess. It had completely collapsed. Fortunately, the various restrictions were no longer there. Xiao Qin used brute force to open up a hole and break out of the ground. After taking a deep breath of the fresh air that he had not breathed in for a long time, Xiao Qin waved his hand and summoned out his Flood Dragon War Chariot. Yu Bingyun exclaimed in shock, "Flood Dragon War Chariot? Isn't this the war chariot of the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's Lung Xiaofan?" Xiao Qin smiled and said, "Get on then. It is surnamed Xiao now." Yu Bingyun smiled. Clearly, she had asked a pointless question. For some reason, this Flood Dragon War Chariot ended up in Xiao Chen's hands. The 4 flood dragons did their best to pull the war chariot. Soon, they tore through the dark clouds in the sky, heading forward quickly. Everything was dark under the dark clouds, not seeing sunlight all year round. However, the dark clouds shone with golden light. The sea of clouds glowed like an immortal realm. "Where are you going?" "I'll make a trip to Dark City first before heading to the Human Demon Sea," Xiao Qin said. Xiao Qin wanted to meet Ba Tu in Dark City, to see if he could find that corpse and perfect his dragon-seeking art further. After that, he wanted to rush to the Human Demon Sea, to the place that Ao Jiao said hid the Thunder King's treasures. Then, he would take the opportunity to find the Flower of Life. When Yu Bingyun heard about Xiao Chen's itinerary, she started laughing softly. This baffled Xiao Qin, so he asked, "What are you laughing at?" "It looks like we will have to travel together for a while. Your itinerary is the same as mine. My final stop on this trip is also the Human Demon Sea." Yu Bingyun's expression made it impossible to tell if she was lying or if she said this on purpose to travel together with Xiao Qin. "Don't find it strange. My main purpose on this trip is experiential training. I told you at the start and did not lie to you. The matter of the Jadeite Mountain Manor was just something I did in passing. Even if I did not make a move, I would have dealt with that matter perfectly." Feeling suspicious, Xiao Qin asked, "What do you mean? Could it be that there is more to Fei Lingyi's attempt to advance the heavenly cloud sword into a transcendent divine weapon?" "I will not tell you more about the inside story. It is not something important. Right now, I just want to sleep comfortably. You don't mind driving the carriage alone, right?" Yu Bingyun smiled gently. Without giving Xiao Qin a chance to reply, she entered the war chariot and pulled the curtains up. Then, she headed for the comfortable bed and lay down alone. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly, unable to say anything. He could not possibly go in and disturb her when she was sleeping. Bathed in the golden sunlight, the Flood Dragon War Chariot sped through the cloud sea at lightning speed. At this moment, on Blackwater Island, Fei Lingyi and Bing Xuejin, who had received the news, rushed over. However, they only saw Jin Liangqi and the other 3 recovering from their injuries. They immediately trembled in anger. They wished that they could rush over to Xiao Qin and tear him to shreds. The storm of the life and death art came to an end. However, the story of the white-robed bladesman on Blackwater Island spread for a long time. He snatched the life and death art from the jaws of 2 half-step Emperor Wu, snatching the life and death art. However, the one who did all this was only a great perfection blue-robed emperor. Later, when Xiao Chen's identity spread, everyone was even more shocked. Unexpectedly, such a bladesman was actually a descendant of the famous Qing Emperor, the Blue Dragon King appointed by the Bushin Palace. After leaving Blackwater Island, Xiao Qin put away the Flood Dragon War Chariot and walked on the vast sea. He started to use the dragon-seeking art to search for holy spirit veins in the Black Sea, which was the most resource-rich. Xiao Chen's luck was pretty good, or rather, the Black Sea was rather rich in resources. In the process of rushing to the Black Sea, Xiao Qin discovered several hidden holy spirit veins. However, Jiang Tian's words rang in his ears. Xiao Qin could not casually touch the things underground. If he did not do it well, he might attract a ferocious evil dragon and bury himself at the bottom of the sea. Hence, Xiao Qin was extremely careful when he made his move. He only made his move after he was 100% sure that it was an auspicious land. He gave up on most of the discoveries and only took 4 holy spirit veins. Even so, Xiao Chen's actions flabbergasted Yu Bingyun, who was traveling with him. The Lunar Palace had also hired extremely skilled geomasters, so Yu Bingyun had some understanding of this trade. Xiao Chen's dragon-seeking art surpassed that of the geomasters hired by the Lunar Palace. In fact, some of his methods for subduing dragons were even more profound. The dragon-fixing needle and the dragon-revealing mirror allowed him to subdue holy spirit veins alone. Just this point alone surpassed those geomasters. In the future, when I manage the lunar palace, I will definitely get you to help me search for spirit veins, Yu Bingyun said seriously. Yu Bingyun asked seriously after Xiaochen stepped into the Black Sea and stopped searching for spirit veins. Xiaochen smiled and said, "Sure. However, the prerequisite is that I can live to that day. Of course, the price for me to make a move will be expensive." Yu Bingyun joked, "The bona fide holy daughter is asking you to search for dragons and fix veins, yet she is putting on such airs. You should be saying that I am extremely willing. As long as the holy daughter says it, anything is negotiable. Right? I am extremely willing. As long as the holy daughter says it, anything is negotiable. Parrot words, there is no sincerity at all. However, I will remember what you said. I will definitely look for you in the future." During this period of interaction, the two had gotten much closer. Yu Bingyun had helped Xiaochen a lot in subduing dragons. There was also the comprehension of the life and death art. Yu Bingyun was not stingy in sharing her understanding with Xiaochen, helping him quickly understand this profound secret manual. As the two chatted and laughed, they did not slow down at all, rushing towards Black City. As the two went deeper into the Black Sea, they could clearly feel how extraordinary this place was. Consummation, blue-robed Emperor Xiaochen saw 1 or 2 half-step Emperor Wu Xiaochen. Even strong existences on the level of Emperor Wu Xiaochen occasionally flashed by, coming and going in a hurry. As the core of the entire Black Sea, the Black Sea's atmosphere of experts was clearly much stronger than Blackwater cities. The two's destination, Dark City, was the core of the core. Many strong blue-robed emperors gathered there. Most of the outstanding youths of the Black Sea were in this city. Half a day later, the two arrived at Dark Island, which was several times vaster than Dark City. As they stood at the edge of the island, they could see the majestic and tyrannical silhouette of Dark City. According to Yu Bingyun, this was an ancient holy city that could rival Bright Moon City. Xiaochen was filled with anticipation, hoping that it would bring him some unexpected surprises. Quickening their pace, Xiaochen and Yu Bingyun rushed towards the city. The city walls were like a black dragon coiled on the ground. The black bricks looked like dragon scales, giving off a metallic feel and a strong might. When the two arrived at the city gates, they lined up obediently, waiting to enter the city. Among the cultivators in line, Xiaochen discovered several consummation blue-robed emperors. There was even a half-step Emperor Wu Xiaochen. This was somewhat flabbergasting. Before the might of Dark City, even a half-step Emperor Wu did not dare to fly in. However, just at this moment, above the heads of the crowd, there were 2 strong figures flying fearlessly into the city, attracting the attention of the crowd. Where did these youths come from? How come they even dare to barge into Dark City? Someone exclaimed in shock when he discovered that the city guards did not make a move on these people, tacitly acknowledging their actions. This must be your first time coming to Dark City, right? These are the famous outstanding talents of Dark City. They are either the descendants of great bandits or absolute outstanding talents, incredibly strong. They have the outstanding talent token issued by the city lord's residents, allowing them to enter and leave the city at will. Chapter 1169. However, Xiaochen, who was in the queue, appeared somewhat distracted. It was like he could not hear anything. The instant the figure in front flashed by, Xiaochen had clearly seen the appearance of that person. This brought back a distant memory. After so many years, he had not expected to see this old friend in Dark City. What's wrong? Yu Bingyun, who was at the side, could not help asking when she saw Xiaochen in a rare daze. She looked at the 2 figures in the sky, who had already left, not understanding what was going on. Xiaochen withdrew his gaze and said indifferently, "It's nothing. I just saw an old friend from the Sky Dome realm." Those 2 earlier were Zhao Feng and Sima Lingxian. Zhao Feng's grandfather, Zhao Linglong, was a veteran sovereign martial emperor, ranked second among the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea. Sima Lingxian has a significant background as well. His adoptive father, Zhong Buxiong, became a sovereign martial emperor after coming out of the road that buried emperors and successfully killed his way into the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea. Yu Bingyun knew more about the Black Sea than Xiao Chen did. She recognized the two people who just passed by. When Xiao Chen heard Zhong Buxiong's name, he felt excited. Wasn't this Zhong Buxiong the middle-aged greater heavenly martial emperor who gave him a message in Despair City? Back then, Xiao Chen had found it strange that Zhong Buxiong would send him a voice projection for no reason at all. Now that Yu Bingyun said that Zhong Buxiong's adoptive son was Sima Lingxian, Xiao Chen somewhat understood what was going on. If Xiao Chen guessed right, this Zhong Buxiong should know about the grudge between Xiao Chen and Sima Lingxian. Zhong Buxiong probably sent Xiao Chen a voice projection because he did not want Xiao Chen to die at the hands of others, giving his adoptive son a chance to take revenge personally. The past truly made one sigh with emotion. Every time one thought of the passionate era of the Sky Dome realm, one's blood would race. Xiao Chen still remembered how many outstanding talents of the Sky Dome realm fought in Dragon Sealing City, fighting for the right to enter the Kunlun realm. However, most of the outstanding talents that truly entered the Kunlun realm were buried in this great realm filled with geniuses. Their names were unknown, and they were nowhere to be seen. However, seeing Sima Lingxian this time far surpassed Xiao Chen's expectations. In that instant, Xiao Chen sensed that Sima Lingxian's cultivation had actually reached the peak of the great perfection blue-robed emperor. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had taken a sovereign martial emperor as his adoptive father. Everything was like a new game of Go. There were always some unexpected things. Fortunately, as long as the blue-robed emperor had sufficient resources and great talent, he would be able to reach the peak of mastery within a short period of time. If he had become a great perfection blue-robed emperor, only then would Xiao Chen be truly vigilant. Now, he only needed to pay a little more attention. Among the younger generation of the Black Sea, where can this Sima Lingxian rank? Xiao Chen asked curiously. This name, which he had long forgotten, once again attracted his attention. Yu Bingyun thought for a while before saying, "How should I put it?" He rose up very quickly. In just 5 or 6 years, with Zhong Buxiong's full support, he defeated many outstanding talents of the Black Sea. Now, he is in the limelight and is known as the strongest of the Black Sea's younger generation. However, this first rank is a little vague. This is because the strongest of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea, the Blood Shark Sovereign's descendant, Huang Yun, has not appeared in the past few years. Furthermore, Huang Yun was already publicly acknowledged as the strongest 10 years ago. Without defeating Huang Yun, Sima Lingxian would not be able to truly become the strongest. There is also Zhao Feng. 2 years ago, Sima Lingxian only lost to Zhao Feng by half a move. In a true life-and-death battle, Zhao Feng only had a 50-50 chance of winning. However, no matter what, there is no exaggeration in calling Sima Lingxian one of the strongest outstanding talents of the Black Sea's younger generation. After saying that, Yu Bingyun glanced at Xiao Chen and said, "Could he be the old friend you mentioned? Is he a friend or foe? If he is an enemy, it is best not to meet him to avoid trouble." Friend or foe? Sima Lingxian's father died at Xiao Chen's hands. There was no way to resolve the grudge of killing his father. However, Xiao Chen did not regret killing Sima Hong at all. Some people deserve to be killed, to pay the price for what they had done in the past. As for meeting the other party, Xiao Chen did not fear it at all. He could defeat the other party in the Sky Dome realm. He could do the same here. Why aren't you saying anything? What exactly is your relationship with this Sima Lingxian? You still have not told me? Yu Bingyun was curious about the relationship between the two, which was rare for Xiao Chen to be absent-minded, so she pursued the matter. After Xiao Chen entered Dark City, Yu Bingyun continued to press him. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly and said, "He has a grudge with me for killing his father. Back then, his father relied on his cultivation to sweep through a small sect of mine in the Sky Dome realm. For the sake of protecting me, many of my sect's disciples and elders died at his father's hands. Later on, after my strength increased, I met his father in the Sky Dome realm and killed him. Xiao Chen skipped the details and gave a simple explanation of the grudge between him and Sima Lingxian. When Yu Bingyun heard this, she could not help but be stunned. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen had such a grudge with this Sima Lingxian. No wonder she was distracted when she saw him. Batu's home was very easy to find. Dark City was divided into 13 districts. Each district was governed by a great bandit. In every district, the most iconic building was the place where the bandits lived. The 13 great bandits of the Black Sea represented the strongest combat prowess of the entire Black Sea, the greatest authority, and the most majestic might. They were the uncrowned masters of the Black Sea, the true kings of the underworld. It was very simple to become a great bandit of the Black Sea. One just had to come to Dark City and defeat a great bandit of the Black Sea, chasing him out of the iconic building. Then one would be the new great bandit of the Black Sea. It was simple and crude, fully displaying the law of the jungle of the Black Sea. While it sounded simple, every great bandit of the Black Sea was at least as strong as Greater Heavenly Emperor Wu. Furthermore, without the strength of a sovereign martial emperor, one would not be confident of defeating any great bandit easily. In the past 1,000 years, aside from Zhong Buxiong, no one else had succeeded. Batu's grandfather was known as the Flame Rock Sovereign. He was ranked 5th among the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea, a veteran sovereign martial emperor. It was because Batu asked the Flame Rock Sovereign to speak up for Kim Taeho's Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce. Hence, no one dared to offend him in the Black Sea. As long as the banner of the Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce was hung up, no one would pay attention to the merchant ships of the Black Sea, where pirates roamed. After asking around, the two found out where the Flame Rock Sovereign lived. A castle made of 10,000-year-old flame rocks was in the south of the city. This was where the Flame Rock Sovereign lived. When the two arrived before the fiery red castle and saw that it was made of 10,000-year-old flame rocks, they felt incredibly shocked. Just a small piece of 10,000-year-old flame rock was worth cities. However, the Flame Rock Sovereign used it to build a vast castle. The castle looked like it was eternally engulfed in flames, burning endlessly. When standing in front of the gates, one could feel the Flame Rock Sovereign's unbridled tyranny. The surroundings were heavily guarded. Xiao Chen stood in front of the gates and reported his identity, asking the guards to help pass a message to Ba Tuesday. Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun both looked extraordinary. Their strength was even more startling. The guards did not dare to be slow, quickly reporting the news. Soon, Ba Tu's carefree laughter came from the gates. He walked over with large strides. When he saw Xiao Chen, he immediately gave Xiao Chen a bear hug. "Brat, you only came now. I have already waited for you for more than a year. Come in first." "Hey, this is..." Xiao Chen, who only cared about talking to Xiao Chen, did not react immediately when he saw Yu Bingyun. After a while, he exclaimed in extreme shock, "Damn! Brother Xiao Chen, you really managed to get the Lunar Palace's holy daughter." Batu's words in front of so many people immediately froze Yu Bingyun's pretty face. This misunderstanding was too big. The misunderstanding was too big. Xiao Chen quickly said, "I think Brother Batu is overreacting." Batu smiled abashedly and quickly apologized. Yu Bingyun ignored him. However, her expression slowly turned warmer, showing no intention of settling scores with him. Come. Since Brother Xiao Chen is here, let's have some fun in Dark City. I'll bring you to the City Lord's residence to apply for an outstanding talent token first. With this outstanding talent token, you can enjoy the privileges that only the older generation Emperor Wu can enjoy. That would be truly satisfying. The City Lord's residence of Dark City was only a faction on the surface. The people there were appointed by the factions represented by the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea. Given Batu's status, it would be easy for him to apply for an outstanding talent token. When Xiao Chen was in line outside the city gates, he had heard some things about the outstanding talent token. For example, Zhao Feng and Sima Lingxian could fly through the city gates because they had the outstanding talent token. However, Xiao Chen's main reason for coming here was the corpse that Batu's group found on the road that buried emperors. The jade strip on that corpse contained the Paradise secret cannon. It was hard to guarantee that there were no other hidden treasures. Xiao Chun was hoping to get lucky. He wanted to go take a look and see if there were any gains. Wait for a while. This time, I actually have a request to make of Brother Ba Tu, Xiao Chun said seriously, rejecting Ba Tu's words. Ba Tu slowly withdrew the smile on his face. He asked gravely, "What is it? If I can help, I will definitely do so without hesitation." "Is the corpse that you found on the road that buried emperors still there? What did you find on that corpse? Can you tell me a thing or two?" When Ba Tu heard this, he could not help smiling. There was nothing on that corpse except for the spatial ring on its finger. It was also a pile of trash. "We suffered a great loss. Could it be that the jade strip we gave you is extraordinary?" Since Xiao Chun had already decided to come here, he did not intend to hide anything. He nodded and said, "Bring me to see that pile of trash first." Ba Tu laughed loudly, and a look of anticipation appeared in his eyes. Then he waved his hand and said, "Bring Miss Bingyun around the castle. Remember to treat her well." Ba Tu looked like a boorish fellow. However, he was very meticulous. He knew that it was not convenient for others to hear about this, so he sent Yu Bingyun away without anyone noticing. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly. She did not care much about her interactions with Xiao Chun over the past few days. Yu Bingyun already knew that Xiao Chun had obtained the inheritance of an ancient dragon seeking secret art. However, Xiao Chun had also told her the truth. This dragon seeking secret art was very difficult for people with ordinary comprehension ability to learn. Chapter 1170. The threshold for comprehension ability was too high. Even if an ordinary geomaster obtained it, it would not be of much use. At most, it would broaden their horizons. Xiao Chun followed Ba Tu to his private treasure pavilion in the castle. In one of the old rooms, he saw the trash that Ba Tu spoke of. There were broken bells, large lumps of metal, rotten knives, and all sorts of metal balls. There were many of them. At first glance, they were indeed trash. However, in Xiao Chun's eyes, they were all dusty treasures, making him somewhat happy. How was this trash? This was a complete dragon-subduing platform. However, it had been destroyed and scattered. After repairing and refining some of the parts, he reassembled them. This was a ready-made dragon-subduing platform. The bell was the dragon-summoning bell. With just a gentle shake, it could automatically summon back the spirit vein that escaped. When dealing with some evil dragons, there was no way to get them to obediently go to the dragon-subduing platform. Hence, the dragon-summoning bell became a necessity. The rotten knives were the essence of the dragon-subduing platform, the dragon head guillotine. There was also the lump of metal. This was the ready-made foundation of the dragon-subduing platform. If Xiao Chun had to pool his own money to build it, he would need at least 10 years to prepare. However, these things were worthless in the eyes of a cultivator. They were completely useless. Even a regular geomaster would not recognize these things. Even if they recognized them, they would not know how to use them. They had to be used in conjunction with the Paradise Secret Cannon. That's all? It is infuriating to talk about it. A group of brothers and I risked our lives to bring back a corpse. Unexpectedly, the ring is filled with a pile of trash. Ba Tu appeared rather depressed when he mentioned this matter. Xiao Chun reluctantly put down the dragon summoning bell. Then he said, "These are not trash. They are all treasures." Seeing that there were no outsiders present, Xiao Chun told Ba Tu about the Paradise Secret Cannon and the true value of this pile of trash. "I can leave a copy of the Paradise Secret Cannon for Brother Ba Tu's day. As for these dragon-subduing platform parts, I hope that Brother Ba Tu will do me a favor. Name a price and I'll buy them." After Ba Tu heard that, his expression changed. He said, "You are looking down on this, brother. Without you making a move, I, Ba Tu, and my friends would have died in the heavenly starry ocean long ago. Furthermore, at that time, Brother Xiao Chun could have made a move to silence us and snatch this corpse away. Don't say anything. You can just take these things as trash." Ba Tu's straightforwardness made Xiao Chun feel somewhat embarrassed. Not only did Ba Tu not want the Paradise Secret Cannon's copy, but he even gave all the parts of the dragon-subduing platform to Xiao Chun. After the dragon subduing platform was completed, Xiaochen would no longer need to be afraid of those evil dragons while seeking the dragon acupoints. This dragon subduing platform was extremely important to him. In fact, when he reached the level of Emperor Wu and searched for a royal spirit vein, this dragon subduing platform would be of great help to him. I won't say too many words of gratitude. In the future, if the Flame Rock Sovereign or Brother Ba Tu need any help, I will definitely be there at your beck and call, Xiaochen said extremely seriously as he accepted the parts of the dragon subduing platform. Ba Tu laughed loudly and said, well said, well said. However, there is indeed a problem that is troubling this brother. What problem? Xiaochen asked, feeling suspicious as he frowned slightly. Speaking of which, what exactly is your relationship with the Holy Daughter? Don't be in a rush to deny it. If it were someone else, they would definitely fall out with her on the spot. Furthermore, Xiaochen felt somewhat speechless. He thought that Ba Tu would ask something serious, so he quickly interrupted, don't mention this. Ba Tu raised his eyebrows and chuckled. All right, I won't mention it. I understand. The more he tried to explain, the more he made things worse. Xiaochen smiled helplessly and said, never mind, let's not talk about this anymore. Bring me to get the outstanding talent token, then. I plan to stay in Dark City for a while and complete the dragon subduing platform before leaving. The disassembled dragon subduing platform had existed for too long. Many things needed to be repaired, which was a rather large project. Furthermore, Xiaochen needed to purchase many divine materials. With the outstanding talent token, he would be able to obtain a considerable discount when purchasing in Dark City. Furthermore, some divine materials could not be purchased through ordinary channels. With the outstanding talent token, it would be easier to access those special channels. Ba Tu patted Xiaochen's shoulder and smiled. That's easy. Come, I'll bring you to the city lord's residence now. As Xiaochen strolled around the castle, he could sense the auras of several experts, both in the open and in the dark. There was even a gaze that seemed to belong to a powerhouse on the level of Emperor Wu, watching him from the dark. However, it seemed like that gaze did not have any malicious intent because of Ba Tu's day. Furthermore, it did not pry too much into Xiaochen. When Xiaochen arrived at the city lord's residence in the center of Dark City, he relied on Ba Tu's signboard to pass through all sorts of tight security and strong checkpoints. This allowed Xiaochen to personally experience the strength of being a great pirate of the Black Sea. Along the way, he saw several half-step Emperor Wu experts at the checkpoints, undergoing strict questioning and inspections. When Ba Tu and Xiaochen arrived at the Zong Affairs office, where the outstanding talent token was processed, they were about to enter. Suddenly, a voice called out to Ba Tu from behind. When Ba Tu heard that, he turned his head back, and his expression changed involuntarily. Damn, this fellow actually came to the Zong Affairs office as well. Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that there would be some problems with the outstanding talent token? Brother Ba Tu, are you bringing someone to get the outstanding talent token? Behind the Zong Affairs office, a white-robed young man with a jade-like complexion and a sinister aura walked over unhurriedly with a person behind him. Xiaochen sized up this person. This person's cultivation was unfathomable. Unexpectedly, he was also a peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. Boundless sword intent flashed in this person's eyes. His gaze was so sharp that it could tear through the air. Another peak great perfection quasi-emperor outstanding young talent. Xiaochen felt shocked in his heart. However, when he thought about it, the Black Sea lacked everything but resources, so he felt somewhat at ease. The 13 great bandits of the Black Sea controlled the greatest benefits of the Black Sea. In terms of resources, they were probably even stronger than some of the Holy Lands. After all, their headquarters were in the Black Sea. The cultivation of the small perfection blue-robed emperor and the great perfection blue-robed emperor happened to rely on the accumulation of resources. Of course, if one's talent was insufficient, no matter how many resources one had, it would be pointless. Being able to use vast resources to raise one's cultivation to peak great perfection blue-robed emperor within a short time was already an incredible feat. This person is called Lu Yun, a descendant of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea, Ku Yejin. Ku Yejin ranks 6th among the great bandits and is a sovereign martial emperor who uses the sword. This person once suffered greatly at my big brother's hands. Xiao Chen knew that Ba Tu's big brother was the most talented, outstanding talent of the Flame Rock Sovereign's bloodline. He was also the Flame Rock Sovereign's legitimate successor, someone who would inherit the title of Flame Rock Sovereign in the future. However, Ba Tu had always been busy with cultivation, rarely appearing when he was in closed-door cultivation. Compared to Ba Tu, he was much more low-profile. That Lu Yun sized up Xiao Chen and said indifferently, "Not bad. With the cultivation of a great perfection blue-robed emperor, you meet the threshold. However, it is hard to say whether you can get an outstanding talent token or not. However, based on Brother Ba Tu's appearance, it seems like you want to go through the back door." This person had an arrogant expression. After saying that, he left with his head held high. Remember to tell your big brother to come out of closed-door cultivation early. The next Outstanding Talent Summit meeting is about to begin. At that time, I will personally defeat him. The person beside Lu Yun turned his head and glanced at Xiao Chen. A faint murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and a fierce electric fire burned in the depths of his eyes. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. Why does this fellow make it seem like he has a grudge against me? If I recall correctly, I have a grudge against him. If I recall correctly, this is the first time Xiao Chen met Lu Yun and Lu Yun. Lu Yun, you sissy. Who said that your uncle is going through the back door? It is just an outstanding talent token. My brother can easily obtain it. What surprised Xiao Chen was that Ba Tu's explosive temper could not endure Lu Yun's aloof temper. Once provoked, Ba Tu would immediately erupt. Lu Yun turned around and did not get angry. He smiled faintly and said, "If you did not go through the back door, you would not have been able to obtain an outstanding talent token. Don't boast and harm your brother. Furthermore, if not for giving face to your big brother, I would have slapped you for what you said earlier." The competition between the descendants of the great bandits was actually so intense. This surprised Xiao Chen, who was at the side, slightly. He felt like he had gotten involved in some grudges. The more Ba Tu spoke, the angrier he became. He cursed, "Damn, do you dare to bet with me? This brother of mine will definitely obtain an outstanding talent token. Furthermore, his results will be even higher than this person you brought." Lu Yun said coldly, "You are really reckless. Do you know who this person beside me is? He is Xia Yang, the descendant of the legendary Thunder Fire Sovereign. He is someone who can make it into the top 5 of this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting." So that's the case. When Xiao Chen heard that, he figured out what was going on. It turned out that this fellow was Xia Luo's elder brother. No wonder Xia Yang's face was filled with murderous intent. Xiao Chen had taught Xia Luo's younger brother and the clan elder, Wang Jin, a lesson at Blackwater Island. Word of that had probably reached this person's ears. Xia Yang smiled faintly and said, "Brother Lu, there is no need to bother with these two clowns. There is no need to lower yourself to their level. Just smile." Lu Yun nodded and said, "That's true. If these words came from your elder brother, Ba Yan, I might be able to take them seriously. However, when they came from you, Ba Tu, I only need to smile." The two echoed each other, causing Ba Tu's complexion to turn red and white. That kind of arrogance and disdain infuriated him. Xiao Chen stepped forward and patted Ba Tu's shoulder. Then he looked straight at the two and said, "It is just an outstanding talent token. There is no need for the two of you to mock and ridicule me like that. Aren't you being too narrow-minded? You will only make others feel ashamed of you." Lu Yun's gaze turned cold. His eyes became like swords as they pierced toward Xiao Chen. A boundless sword intent burst out from his eyes. Unexpectedly, this fellow's sword soul had reached 50% comprehension, far surpassing that of his peers. Furthermore, Lu Yun's sword intent gained a feeling of spring returning to a withered tree. This made his sword intent even more exuberant, surging boundlessly. If Lu Yun looked at an ordinary person, that person would immediately fall to the ground in fright, trembling and unable to get up. However, Xiao Chen did not fear Lu Yun at all. His saber soul had already reached 60% comprehension, completely suppressing his opponent. The saber soul in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness moved slightly as he looked straight into Lu Yun's eyes. He did not even take half a step back. Chapter 1171. Saber intent spread out from Xiao Chen's body. It was like one could hear sharp clanging sounds in the air, inspiring the urge to cover their ears. Many people came to the City Affairs Hall to handle the outstanding talent token and other matters. When they saw this scene, they could not help but look over. When they saw that someone dared to clash with Lu Yun's aura, they could not help feeling surprised. Lu Yun was very famous in this vast dark city. He was extremely strong, even able to defeat some consummation blue-robed emperors. What a fellow! To think that you really have some skill. Ba Tu, I accept your bet. Lu Yun said indifferently to Ba Tu as he withdrew his gaze. Anticipation lit up in his eyes. Ba Tu sent a voice projection back. Xiao Chen, are you confident? I did not recognize that Xia Yang at first glance. This fellow is also very famous in Dark City. He is not inferior to the descendants of the great bandits of the Black Sea. His outstanding talent token should have reached its time limit, so he is here to reapply for it. If you are not confident, then I admit defeat. I will ask my uncle to help you apply for an outstanding talent token. Xiao Chen replied calmly. There is no need. Just go ahead and gamble. Bet as much as you want. I will help you win it all in one go. With Xiao Chen's words, Ba Tu immediately calmed down. He smiled and said, Lu Yun, let's make the bet bigger this time. The loser will give the winner 200 essence stones. How about that? 200 essence stones. The moment Ba Tu said that, not only did Lu Yun's expression change slightly, but even the surrounding young cultivators who were watching felt shocked. Essence stones could only be extracted from King Spirit veins. They were essential for Emperor Wu's cultivation. Without advancing to Emperor Wu, there was no way to purchase essence stones through normal channels. They could only obtain them at auctions. These outstanding talents had the backing of the great bandits and lived in the resource-rich Black Sea. Hence, they could rely on their clans to obtain some essence stones every month. However, they only obtained about 20 essence stones every month. They still had to rely on Holy Spirit veins to cultivate. Ba Tu wanted to bet 200 essence stones in one go. It looked like he had been holding back his anger and wanted to make a big bet. Xia Yang's eyes were burning with fighting spirit. Brother Lu, just agree with him. The guy next to him happens to have some conflicts with me. Let's break his spirit here first. Lu Yun secretly sent a voice transmission to ask if he was really confident. He only had 300 origin essence stones on him, and he had saved them up. Don't worry. My Thunderfire art has already reached the 10th layer. It is more than enough to defeat him in the test of the outstanding talent token, Xia Yang guaranteed confidently. Lu Yun had always looked down on Ba Tu and did not want to lose in front of him. With Xia Yang's guarantee, he immediately agreed to Ba Tu's request and said loudly, I happen to be lacking origin essence stones. If you want to give them to me, I naturally have no objection. Ba Tu and Lu Yun are at loggerheads. This is going to be a good show. What a big bet. 200 origin essence stones. If I had 200 origin essence stones, my cultivation would increase by 20%. Stop speaking nonsense. Your clan does not have a sovereign martial emperor holding down the fort. Where are you going to get 200 origin essence stones? Even if the elders of your clan found them, they would use them for themselves. Ba Tu and Lu Yun's huge bet immediately attracted the attention of the many youths who came to apply for the outstanding talent token. Aside from the descendants of great bandits who could use their connections to apply for the outstanding talent token, the outstanding talent token was also open to the public. As long as one cleared the checkpoints set by the City Lord's Residence's City Affairs Hall, they would obtain the outstanding talent token as well, allowing one to enjoy many benefits in Black Sea City and a death exemption medallion. With the outstanding talent token, no expert would dare to kill you. At the very least, this was a guarantee in the Black Sea. Aside from this, one could enter many of the peak places in the city unobstructed with the outstanding talent token and enjoy the most expensive treatment. Not just the local outstanding talents of the Black Sea, But several outstanding talents from other sea regions also came to Dark City to apply for the Outstanding Talent token. Furthermore, in the Kunlun realm, as long as one was not over 50 years old, one could be considered a youth. Hence, the City Affairs Hall was always filled with people. There were many people who came, but only a few were able to successfully apply for an Outstanding Talent token. The reason was simple. The checkpoints set by the City Affairs Hall were too difficult. Lu Yun and Xia Yang took the lead and entered the City Affairs Hall. Xiao Chen and Ba Tu followed closely behind. After registering according to the City Affairs Hall's rules, they were led into the testing hall. The vast and majestic testing hall was bustling with people. When Xiao Chen saw this, he found it somewhat strange. Unexpectedly, there were so many people here to apply for the Outstanding Talent token. A quick count gave at least 100 people, ranging in age from 20 to 50. Some were strong, some were weak, some were strong, and some were of different races. There were humans, fiend race, ghost race, and even some demon mixed-blood cultivators. This was a great eye-opener. Dark City truly lived up to its reputation as a gathering city. Just the test for the Outstanding Talent token could attract so many outstanding talents. These people were all different. However, the pride they exuded was not as wild and unruly as they usually were. They were all very similar. After being immersed in the Black Sea for a long time, one would develop a baleful aura that was very hard to get rid of. However, this baleful aura would not affect the minds of outstanding talents. Instead, it would be used by them to strengthen their auras. Lu Yun's appearance attracted everyone's attention. This descendant of a great bandit was very famous and in the limelight. In comparison, the descendant of a great bandit like Ba Tu attracted much less attention. After all, this dark city was a place where strength reigned supreme, a place where the strong were worshipped. If Ba Tu's eldest brother were here, the situation would be different. Dong, dong, dong. Dense footsteps resounded. Countless people rushed in from outside the City Affairs Hall to watch the excitement. This made the young outstanding talents participating in the Outstanding Talent token feel strange. Although the Outstanding Talent token's test did not prohibit spectators, it was rare for such a bustling scene to appear under normal circumstances. There had to be something strange about this. Indeed, after asking around, the crowd learned about the bet between Ba Tu and Lu Yun. They all showed strange expressions. Who is that white-robed bladesman? To think that he dares to compete with the Thunder Fire Sovereign's descendant. I don't know. I've never seen him before. He looks like he is only a middle-stage great perfection blue-robed emperor. His cultivation is weaker than Xia Yang's. This white-robed bladesman must have a great background. Otherwise, Ba Tu would not be so bold. That might not be the case. I feel that he is just bluffing. He is just a nameless person. It is hard to say whether he can obtain the Outstanding Talent token or not. How can he compete with Xia Yang? That's right. He will definitely lose. The crowd discussed the matter. Some of the young outstanding talents participating in the test purposely stopped, wanting to let the two fight one-on-one. The two took up the responsibility and went to the first stage of the City Affairs Hall's test. The test of strength. Xiao Chen was no stranger to this test method. It was the same as the one he used in front of the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion. The 100-meter-tall stone tablet was connected to an Iron Man through an exquisite formation on the ground. The difference was that this time, the Metal Man's chest, throat, forehead, and other areas were marked in red. After the old man beside the stone steel explained it to Xiao Chen, he knew that the testing stone steel here was closer to actual combat. The vital parts of the stone steel were reinforced, making it harder for one's strength to penetrate. Just like martial artists, they would definitely put up extra defenses at their vitals. If one was confident, one could attack the vital parts of the Metal Man. If one's strength could penetrate it, one could light up more gems on the stone steel. If one's strength was insufficient, then one's result would be extremely low. One would be eliminated in the first stage. Most people would not choose to attack the vital parts. They would just use the normal method to test their strength. The City Affairs Hall elder guarding the first stage said expressionlessly, The first stage is to test your strength. If you want to obtain the outstanding talent token, you have to light up the 6th row of gems at the very least. Lighting up 1 gem is 1 point. The highest score for this stage is 10 points. Xiao Chen's expression changed involuntarily. In the previous test at the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion, the ones who could light up the 6th row of gems were almost all consummation blue-robed emperors. In this place, the minimum requirement to obtain the outstanding talent token was to light up the 6th row of gems. The threshold was extraordinarily high. No wonder Lu Yun said that even a great perfection blue-robed emperor might not be able to obtain the outstanding talent token. As for the subsequent scores, Xiao Chen knew that this test had a total of 3 stages. In the end, the scores would be added up to determine one's ranking among all the outstanding talents taking the test. In this first stage, I will make you fall into despair. Xia Yang was very confident in the test of strength. After the old man finished speaking, he walked over step by step. With every step Xia Yang took, a layer of purple lightning-attributed fire burned on his body. His aura was startling. Sparks even appeared high in the sky in the vast hall. If not for the restrictions in the hall, the lightning would have burst out. Thunder Fire Art. This is a profound cultivation technique created by the legendary martial emperor, the Thunder Fire Sovereign. Its explosive power is extremely ferocious. I wonder which layer Xia Yang has cultivated it to? As long as he reaches the 7th layer, he will be able to defeat that white-robed bladesman for sure. The legendary martial emperor, the Thunder Fire Sovereign, was very famous. Although the Xia clan was no longer as powerful as it was in the past, no one dared to underestimate the might of this Thunder Fire art. Xia Yang took 10 steps. With every step he took, a layer of purple lightning-attributed fire appeared on his body. When he finished taking 10 steps, the crowd exclaimed. Amid the layers of lightning-attributed fire, Xia Yang's aura was extremely strong. He was no weaker than a regular consummation blue-robed emperor's. He might even be stronger. Unexpectedly, he cultivated the Thunder Fire art to the 10th layer. This Xia Yang really hit himself deeply. He will probably shock everyone in this outstanding talent summit meeting. There is no hope. Batu's 200 essence stones are probably gone. After charging up his strength, Xia Yang roared and punched the metal humanoid. The light on the testing steel flickered, and rows of gems lit up rapidly. Soon, all the gems on the 5th row lit up. The first purple gem on the 6th row lit up, followed by the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th gems. The 7th, the 8th, the 9th. This caused an uproar. Xia Yang's punch lit up a total of 9 gems on the 6th row. This was a startling result, surpassing most consummation blue-robed emperors. Chapter 1172. Although Xia Yang had used the 10th layer of the Thunder Fire art and stored up energy for a while, no one could deny his results. However, no one could erase his results. All of this was within the rules. The first stage was a test of strength. Lighting up 9 gems and obtaining 9 points was basically the highest score of the first stage. Xia Yang scattered the 10th layer of Thunder Fire on his body. His complexion turned slightly red, and he looked somewhat weak. Clearly, his cultivation of the 10th layer of the Thunder Fire art was not very stable. However, the joy and pride on his face did not diminish at all. He looked at Xiao Chen arrogantly and laughed loudly. In this stage, I lit up 9 gems on the 6th row. How can you compare to me? To most people, to surpass the 9th gem, one would have to erupt with the strength of a half-step Emperor Wu and light up 10 gems. However, this was clearly impossible. Xia Yang obtained 9 points. There was no way Xiao Chen could compete with him. Xia Yang would definitely win the first stage. White-robed bladesmen, what do you have to defeat me? Xia Yang lit up 9 purple gems in one go, appearing very spirited. After cultivating the Thunder Fire art to the 10th layer, Xia Yang's goal was not Xiao Chen but the outstanding talent summit meeting that would take place in a month. At that time, he would shine brightly. Xia Yang treated Xiao Chen before him as an appetizer. At the same time, he would kick his younger brother and vent his anger. At the same time, he would slowly spread his fame. The corner of Lu Yun's mouth curled up slightly when he saw this scene. He said to Ba Tu in an indifferent manner, "Prepare 200 origin essence stones later." Haha, if you can't take it out, don't blame me for making a fool of you in front of everyone and doing some embarrassing things. Ba Tu's face sank slightly, rage building in his heart. However, when he saw Xia Yang obtain 9 points, he felt a deep sense of helplessness. In reality, Ba Tu did not have 200 essence stones. It was only because he trusted Xiao Chen unconditionally that he demanded an exorbitant price. Xia Yang wanted to take revenge on Lu Yun for all the time. He didn't expect that Xia Yang would score 9 points in the first round. If Xia Yang continued to perform well, his total score would probably be able to rank in the top 20 of the overall ranking. Don't be too happy so soon. This is just the first stage. There are still 3 more stages, testing movement techniques, eyesight, and actual combat. There will be plenty of opportunities to overtake them. Ba Tu argued back, but his words seemed to lack confidence. When Lu Yun heard this, he smiled in disdain and said, "Stubborn duck. Continue holding on. Let's see what else you have to say when we reach the final stage." Everyone's gazes focused on Xiao Chen. They all wanted to see what expression this white-robed bladesman would have when he saw Xia Yang's despairing 90 points. But they were disappointed. The expected dismay and surprise did not appear on Xiao Chen's face. His delicate face was still calm. Taking a step forward, Xiao Chen used his hand to touch the Iron Man. The places he touched were all the vital parts of the Iron Man, such as its chest, throat, and the space between its eyebrows. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. What is he trying to do? Could it be that he overestimated himself and wanted to challenge the Iron Man's vital parts? If one could penetrate the reinforced defenses of the Iron Man's vital parts, one would be able to obtain a very high score. However, if one was not strong enough, one would obtain a score far lower than one's own strength. The risk was very high. Practically no one could obtain a high score by challenging the Iron Man's vital parts. Most of them could not even light up the purple gems. Lu Yun smiled coldly and said, "This fellow really wants to win so much that he has gone crazy." Glancing at the stunned Ba Tu, Lu Yun added, "Indeed, he is someone you brought up. His way of thinking is different. However, he does not know that he is a big joke." Ba Tu could not help retorting, "If you can obtain a high score by relying on the vital parts, my brother will definitely be able to do it." Lu Yun smiled conceitedly and said, "Do you think that everyone is a descendant of Ku Yejian? Even if you called your big brother over, he would not be able to obtain a high score by relying on the vital parts. This is something only a peak swordsman can do. You idiot, you don't know anything." Most of the people present agreed with Lu Yun's words. Unless one was a peak swordsman who could focus their attacks on one point, it would be very difficult to break through the reinforced defenses. Although the attacks of a bladesman were tyrannical, they excelled in chopping and chopping. They could not focus their attacks on one point. In history, there had never been a bladesman who obtained a high score by relying on the vital parts. When everyone saw that Xiao Chen wanted to obtain victory by relying on the vital parts, they all shook their heads slightly. Their eyes filled with disdain. This white-robed bladesman overestimated himself. "Can I use a saber?" Xiao Chen stepped back. Now that he was confident, he asked the administrator of the sect affairs hall. That old administrator smiled and said, "Naturally. If a bladesman does not use a saber, how can he bring out his greatest strength? However, let me give you a piece of advice. In the history of Dark City, there has never been a bladesman who obtained a high score by relying on the vital parts." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "There will be one soon." When the old administrator heard that, he could not help but smile faintly. His expression did not change. The arrogance of youth was understandable. The old administrator had seen too much in his life and would no longer make a fuss about nothing. "How arrogant! Let's see what kind of joke you will make." Xia Yang could not stand Xiao Chen's indifferent attitude, so he mocked him. Whoosh! Right after Xia Yang spoke, everyone in the hall saw an extremely dazzling saber light flash by. The saber light was too bright, forcing everyone to blink involuntarily. As the saber light flashed, there was also a gust of wind. This wind made everyone's long hair flutter gently. However, in the blink of an eye, Xiao Qin, who was holding nothing in his hands earlier, had already sheathed his saber. Then he slowly hugged the lunar shadow saber. Did he draw his saber? This saber strike was too fast, so fast that everyone doubted it. It flashed by, they did not see it clearly at all. Naturally, Xiao Qin had drawn his saber. Although not many people saw Xiao Qin draw his saber, there were still some, such as Lu Yun, the old administrator, and Xia Yang, who stood beside Xiao Qin. When Xia Yang saw that the stone steel did not even light up, he could not help laughing loudly. Not bad, your posture is pretty good. Unfortunately, not a single gem lit up. White-robed bladesman, you will probably become the biggest joke of the year in Dark City. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Earlier, Xiao Qian's saber strike was incredibly fast, startling them all. When they heard Xia Yang's words, they realized that it was just a joke. Not a single gem lit up. Although this was somewhat surprising, it was rather normal. Many cultivators who wanted to score points by attacking the vital points had encountered such a situation before. However, Xiao Qin made it seem so mysterious, giving off the air of an expert. In the end, he still ended up with such a result. This was truly a joke. Something's not right. Lu Yun, who originally had a smile on his face, suddenly frowned. He discovered that something was wrong. The old administrator behind the stone steel also showed a grave expression, appearing extremely flabbergasted. There was a crisp sound, and a crack appeared on the metal puppet's neck. A resplendent saber light shot out from that crack, looking as dazzling as the sun. Before everyone's incredulous gaze, the metal puppet's head separated from its neck with a ka-si. The instant the metal puppet's head flew off, a boundless saber wind surged out from its neck. A strong saber intent hummed along with the wind, reverberating in every corner of the vast hall. The strong and horrifying saber intent made everyone shudder in fear. The wind kept blowing for a long time, causing the noisy hall to slowly quiet down. Only the humming of the wind could be heard. Such a scene attracted several elders and administrators of the sect affairs office to come out from their hiding places. When they saw the headless metal puppet, they were all startled. The metal puppet that had stood in the hall for more than 1,000 years had its head chopped off. The metal puppet's neck was specially reinforced. No cultivator under the age of 50 could chop it off. But now, this unbelievable scene had happened in real life. The old administrator behind the stone steel narrowed his eyes and sighed. He had not expected to make such a mistake. He smiled bitterly and said, "Little friend, let this saber wind stop. There's no need. Let this wind continue blowing. I want someone to remember how I defeated him." Amid the boundless strong wind, Xiao Qin hugged the lunar shadow saber and glanced indifferently at Xia Yang, whose mouth was agape. "Let the wind continue blowing. I want someone to know how I defeated him." These words sounded very calm and unperturbed. However, they were like a heavy slap to Xia Yang's face, resounding loudly. Xia Yang thought about how Xia Yang had defeated him after he scored 9 points. He had a proud expression on his face and shouted, "How are you going to defeat me?" Now, Xiao Qin used the best action to prove how Xia Yang defeated him. The way Xiao Qin won, the way he won, made Xia Yang's face hurt from the wind. For this stage, our people from the Hall of Sect Affairs had a discussion. Although the gemstone didn't light up, it's still not enough. Although the gems did not light up, the strength that Xiao Qin displayed does not need to be proven. We will give him 10 points for this stage. The wind slowly stopped. As everyone expected, Xiao Qin, who chopped off the metal puppet's head, obtained the rare perfect score. Xiao Qin firmly surpassed Xia Yang, taking first place. After hearing the administrator's conclusion, Ba Tu could not help but laugh. "My apologies, first young Master Lu. My brother made a fool of himself in front of you. Unfortunately, you are not even comparable to a joke. I remember that you only scored 9 points for this stage." Lu Yun was very angry. He had not expected Xiao Qin to use such a decisive method to turn things around. Everyone thought that he would definitely lose in the first round, but he made a huge comeback. Don't get cocky. There are still 3 more stages. The victor is not decided yet. Lu Yun said coldly. Ba Tu rubbed his chin and smiled. These words are really familiar. Oh, that's right. Didn't I say it earlier? How did Brother Lu rebuke me? Every dog had its day. Seeing Lu Yun's deflated appearance, Ba Tu felt very carefree. How many years had it been since Xiao Chen had seen Lu Yun so angry? This gamble was worth it. Don't get cocky. I will not lose to you in the next 3 stages. Chapter 1173. Xia Yang said coldly to Xiao Chen. Then he stepped forward. The next stage tested movement techniques, which were also based on 10 points. Xia Yang's performance in this stage was not very good. The 10th layer Thunderfire art allowed his explosive power to far surpass that of the younger generation. However, his movement technique was much weaker. He only managed to get 7 points in this stage, barely passing the passing line. Seeing his opponent's unsatisfactory performance, Xiao Chen was happy and relaxed. He held back some of his strength, using only the Great Perfection Thunder Dragon steps to obtain 8 points. Xiao Chen did not have a specific goal. He just needed to obtain 1 point more than his opponent in each stage. He could not do anything about the first stage. Xia Yang obtained 9 points. If Xiao Chen did not bring out his full strength, he would not be able to surpass him. In the second stage, Xiao Chen could preserve his strength. Naturally, Xiao Chen chose to do so. Among the cultivators watching, Xiao Chen discovered several strong existences. The auras they gave off were no weaker than Lu Yun's. Xiao Chen did not know what these people were here for. If he could preserve some of his strength, he would do so, not letting others see through him. The third stage tested eyesight. There was no need to mention this stage. Xiao Chen had already cultivated the Heavenly Eye. If Xiao Chen opened the Heavenly Eye, even the half-step Emperor Wu would not be a match for him. He did not need to open the Heavenly Eye to deal with Xia Yang. Xiao Chen easily obtained 7 points, defeating his opponent's 6 points. It looked like the two were locked in a stalemate. Every time, it seemed like Xia Yang had a chance to defeat Xiao Chen. However, Xiao Chen surpassed him by 1 point every time. After 3 stages, the gap between the two reached 3 points. Lu Yun's expression turned increasingly unsightly. At the start, Ba Tu, whom Lu Yun looked down on, smiled more widely. The 4th stage tested practical combat. With Xiao Chen's intentional control, Lu Yun finally defeated Xiao Chen, defeating Xiao Chen's 6 points with 7 points. After the 4 stages, Xiao Chen obtained a total of 31 points, and Xia Yang obtained 29 points. The two's total points successfully entered the top 50 of the Outstanding Talent token. Among the Heaven's Pride tokens, Xiao Chen had engraved the number 30, while Xia Yang had engraved the number 49. The numbers represented their rankings. It was clear who won and who lost the bet between Ba Tu and Lu Yun. Everyone had already somewhat expected the final outcome from the moment Xiao Chen chopped off the Iron Man's head. However, Xiao Chen still could not accept it. How could a nameless person turn the tables and defeat the Thunderfire Sovereign's descendant, Xia Yang? Young man, you are quite ambitious. I wonder how much of your strength you will be able to bring out in the test for the Proud Son of Heaven token. The old deacon who had first tested Xiao Chen's strength had keenly noticed that Xiao Chen had concealed his true strength in the last few tests, so he had secretly transmitted a message to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen did not pay too much attention to it. He hid his strength simply to avoid some trouble. He did not have any other ambitions. He could only say that this old deacon was thinking too much. 200 essence stones. Quickly take them out. The victor had already been decided. Ba Tu immediately led Xiao Chen to demand repayment, not giving Lu Yun any face. Lu Yun's face darkened as he tossed out 200 essence stones. He said coldly, "Let me tell you, my essence stones are not that easy to obtain. Don't run into me at the summit meeting." After saying that, Lu Yun felt that he had lost too much face, so he quickly left. Xia Yang, who followed closely behind, glanced at Xiao Chen before leaving without saying a word. "Is that so? I think they are easy to obtain. Coincidentally, I lack essence stones. Many thanks, Brother Lu. Ba Tu said loudly to Lu Yun, who had already gone far away, as he accepted the essence stones with a carefree smile on his face. Come, let's go and have a drink. This was really delightful. Ba Tu directly handed the essence stones to Xiao Chen, not showing any intention of putting them in his pocket. Then he led Xiao Chen out of the city lord's residence. The commotion slowly died down. However, news of Xiao Chen chopping off the metal puppet's head with one saber strike in the city lord's residence's clan affairs hall, which was unprecedented in history, would definitely spread throughout the entire Dark City in a short time. As a bladesman, Xiao Chen obtained full marks in the first stage of the Outstanding Talent Tokens test, putting him on par with the half-step Emperor Wu. However, to everyone's surprise, Xiao Chen's feat in the clan affairs hall was just the beginning. Over the next few days, people continued to obtain the Outstanding Talent Token, setting new records one after another. Furthermore, most of these people were not the local outstanding talents of Dark City. They were all outsiders, giving off the feeling that a storm was brewing. The cultivators in Dark City only reacted when the news of the start of the new Outstanding Talent Summit meeting spread. These strong outstanding talents that suddenly appeared were people from other sea domains who came to participate in the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. The originally restless Dark City immediately turned even more chaotic. Every day, there would be fierce battles between outstanding talents, trying to determine who was stronger. Among them, many of the outsiders had made a name for themselves in a series of fierce battles. This allowed people to know the names of these people in advance. Dark City was very chaotic. However, Xiao Chen did not care about this chaos. He remained in the Flame Rock Fortress and anxiously repaired the dragon-subduing platform with Yu Bingyun. Xiao Chen anxiously repaired the dragon-subduing platform with Yu Bingyun. Even his cultivation time was squeezed out. With the Outstanding Talent Token, Xiao Chen successfully purchased the divine materials he needed to repair the dragon-subduing platform. At the same time, he saved a large sum of black astral coins, allowing him to experience the great benefits of the Outstanding Talent Token. Yu Bingyun did not go anywhere in Dark City. When she learned that Xiao Chen wanted to repair the dragon-subduing platform, she took the initiative to offer her help. The repair was a huge project. It would be great if someone was willing to help. Xiao Chen did not think too much before agreeing. On this particular day, the repair of the dragon-subduing platform reached its final stage. Ba Tu rushed over to inform Xiao Chen of a piece of news. My first brother, Ba Yan, came out of closed-door cultivation and wants to meet you. Xiao Chen had heard of Ba Tu's first brother, Ba Yan. This person was very strong and ranked among the top of the many outstanding talents in Dark City. Even that Lu Yun once suffered at Ba Yan's hands. Xiao Chen had stayed in this Flame Rock Fortress for a long time. Be it out of courtesy or curiosity, Xiao Chen wanted to meet this person. Xiao Chen stopped what he was doing and followed Ba Tu together with Yu Bingyun. When they arrived at a drill ground in the fortress, they saw Ba Yan exchanging moves with a senior of his clan on the drill ground. A stout man who looked somewhat similar to Ba Tu stood on the drill ground. His entire body surged with energy. Every time he punched, there would be the sound of rocks crashing and flames surging. Every move of this man was extremely ferocious. He walked the path of opening and closing. However, these simple moves had a certain charm to them. After watching for a long time, Xiao Chen discovered the profoundness behind them. Ba Yan cultivated two wills, the will of fire and the will of rock. He cultivated both wills to great perfection. Furthermore, he used an ingenious method to merge them, forming the will of flame rock unique to the flame rock sovereign's bloodline. The will of flame contained a surging, boundless explosive force and the hardness and toughness of rock. Ba Yan's opponent was a consummation blue-robed emperor of the Flame Rock Fortress. Although this was not a battle to the death, the fight was still extremely intense. Although that old man used all his means, he could not make up for it. When Ba Tu saw this, he revealed an expression of worship. This is my first brother. When he came out of closed-door cultivation, he cultivated the flame rock art to the 10th layer. He is the most talented person in the history of our clan. When my grandfather was this young, he only cultivated the flame rock art to the 9th layer. Yu Bingyun smiled and asked, "What layer are you at now?" Ba Tu smiled embarrassedly and replied, "Can this be a secret? I'm too embarrassed to say." Although Ba Tu did not say it, Xiaochen could tell that Ba Tu's flame rock art had only reached the peak of the 6th layer, not even breaking through to the 7th layer. Compared to his first brother, Ba Tu was far from comparable. However, this was not because Ba Tu was too weak. Ba Tu's talent was not bad either. Rather, it was because his first brother, Ba Yan, was too strong, too dazzling. Bang! Rock and flame merged. When Ba Yan punched with a mighty might, he forced the old man back another 10 steps. The battle in the martial arts arena came to an end here and did not continue. After first young master comes out of closed-door cultivation, you will definitely shine brightly at the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. The descendants of the other great bandits will never imagine that first young master has cultivated the flame rock art to the 10th layer, the old man who was sparring with Ba Yan said with a smile. The old man said with a smile, his face full of anticipation. Ba Yan looked as carefree as Ba Tuesday. He looked like he was in a good mood, but he appeared more cautious and reserved. Ba Yan's eyes burned with a strong fighting spirit, filled with boundless confidence. However, he did not speak confidently. Our clan's flame rock art is a peak inferior grade cultivation technique among profound cultivation techniques. Being able to cultivate it to the 10th layer is indeed a great advantage. However, it is not good to underestimate others because of this. There are no ordinary people among the descendants of great bandits. After saying that, Ba Yan dismissed the old man. Then he walked over to Xiaochen excitedly with a smile on his face. "You are the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen that my younger brother mentioned. According to my younger brother, you are very incredible. You even chopped down that Iron Man from the Clan Affairs Hall with one strike. Let's exchange a few moves." Ba Yan's words sounded very provocative. Ba Tu quickly said, "Xiaochen, don't mind him. My older brother's temper is like this. When he sees an expert, he can't help itching for a fight. After being in closed-door cultivation for so long, he has not improved at all. It's fine. I would like to see Brother Ba Yan's martial techniques as well." Xiaochen did not dislike such people. In fact, he was somewhat similar to them. When he saw an expert that made his eyes light up, he could not help wanting to spar with them. He wanted to see what he could learn from them and improve himself. Or perhaps, he just wanted to find an opponent for himself. If a cultivator kept cultivating behind closed doors, without having experienced hundreds of battles, they would definitely regress. Ba Yan smiled and said, "It looks like we are on the same path. Let's exchange 3 moves, then." Xiaochen nodded and said, "That's what I was thinking. Let's go." Before Ba Tu's and Yu Bingyun's stunned gazes, the 2 people who had just met immediately went to the drill platform, preparing to fight. A strange look flashed in Yu Bingyun's eyes. She said, "Why is your elder brother looking for Xiaochen? Could it be that he wants to spar with him?" Chapter 1174. Ba Tu scratched his head and said, "I'm not sure either. It seems like Big Brother received an invitation and is preparing to bring Xiaochen along. He should be testing his strength now." As the 2 of them spoke, Xiaochen and Ba Yan started fighting. Compared to the other cultivators, Ba Yan appeared extremely simple and crude. He did not store up any power, simply raising his hand and punching. Blazing fire, burning clouds. This move was based on the state of raging fire. The moment Ba Yan moved his feet, a surging sea of fire instantly spread out. What a shocking explosive power! The other party's explosive power slightly surprised Xiaochen. Furthermore, there was no need for him to accumulate power at all. He could control it as he wished. Not daring to be careless, Xiaochen's figure flashed as he executed the great perfection Thunder Dragon steps. His body became like a dragon as he took 7 steps forward. With every step he took, 1 or 2 wild lightning dragons would shoot out from beneath Xiaochen's feet, and they would roar towards the sky while baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. After he took 7 steps, 12 berserk electric dragons flew out from behind Xiaochen. At this moment, he instantly drew his lunar shadow saber and clashed with his opponent's punch. The auras of the two sides clashed, clashing head-on. The saber light and the fist light clashed, giving off a loud sound and kicking up a cloud of dust. However, when the dust settled, Xiaochen took 5 steps back, but Ba Yan took 10 steps back. What kind of saber technique is this? It is so fast, yet it can still erupt with such might. Ba Yan appeared somewhat shocked. Xiaochen raised his saber and stood upright. He said, "Thunder Dragon Chop. I condensed the lightning tribulation saber technique that I comprehended in the past into a saber technique. I only recently comprehended it as well. It looks like it is pretty strong." Using the Thunder Dragon steps as the foundation and the lightning tribulation saber technique from before, this was a new move that Xiaochen came up with in the Blood Sword Sovereign's cave. Without the advancement of the Thunder Dragon steps, this move would not have appeared. Looking at it now, it was indeed extraordinarily mighty. Interesting. Take another punch from me, conquering the world fist. This punch also obtained the will of rock, not as ferocious and explosive as the will of fire. However, the aura that Xiaochen's fist technique revealed was even more domineering. It was as if he wanted to suppress the mountains and rivers for 5,000 kilometers with one punch. As Ba Yan soared into the air, the mysterious phenomenon of mountains and rivers appeared under his feet. With this punch, all the mountains and rivers submitted. This move was not as ferocious as before, and the aura it exuded was much weaker. However, the tyrannical aura it radiated gave Xiaochen even greater pressure. Good timing. This move completely aroused Xiaochen's competitive spirit. With a loud laugh, he stomped on the ground with one foot. Immediately, a cyan dragon shadow flew out from Xiaochen's body. The 10,000 heavenly laws in his body all turned into illusory dragons. In the blink of an eye, 10,000 dragons soared into the air, roaring in unison. As Xiaochen slashed down with his saber, he materialized the subduing dragon profound slash, forming a green saber light that reached the sky. Ba Tu gaped and exclaimed, "Damn! He is trying to destroy the stage." Yu Bingyun also felt some shock. However, she was much calmer than Ba Tuesday. She said indifferently, "Don't worry. It is just a simple exchange. The two of them know their limits and will not bring out their full strength." The punch that contained the might of mountains and rivers for 5,000 kilometers struck the cyan saber light. Kasi. Cracks appeared on the surface of Ba Yan's fist, and countless specks of dust flew out. Xiaochen's saber strike had broken Ba Yan's protective rock veritable energy. However, the might of this punch was similarly startling. A clear crack appeared in the saber light where Ba Yan's fist struck. "I'm not fighting anymore, I'm not fighting anymore." When Ba Yan saw his protective veritable energy break, he was startled and quickly retreated. When Xiaochen looked at Xiaochen again, he no longer dared to underestimate Xiaochen. Xiaochen's fist subduing rivers and mountains was extremely powerful. This was the first time Ba Yan met someone in the same generation who could break his defense. Ba Yan already lost in the first move, and his protective rock veritable energy broke in the second move. If they continued fighting, he would have to use his trump card in the third move. However, Ba Yan did not intend to use his trump card so early. The two moves were very efficient, allowing the two to gain a clearer understanding of each other's strength. Although Ba Yan was slightly weaker in this exchange, he still looked as graceful as before. The first move's horrifying eruption could be executed at will. Xiaochen circulated the Thunder Dragon steps and took 7 steps before he managed to gain a slight advantage with the Thunder Dragon chop. The second move, fist subduing rivers, subduing mountains and rivers for 5,000 kilometers, was even more tyrannical. This was the first time someone nearly broke Xiaochen's subduing dragon profound slash. Xiaochen felt some anticipation for the third move. If he guessed right, the third move should merge the will of fire and the will of rock. Then he would circulate the 10th layer of the flame rock art and execute them together to form a horrifying killing move. Xiaochen estimated that if he perfectly executed it, it would rival a medial-grade profound martial technique. Unfortunately, Ba Yan suddenly withdrew at the crucial moment. Not bad. It looks like Ba Tu was right. You are even stronger than he described. Ba Yan walked over while laughing loudly. He did not hold any grudges because he was weaker than Xiao Chen. Instead, his eyes filled with joy. It looked like this Ba Yan was truly a battle maniac. He was the kind of cultivator who truly indulged in combat and did not care about victory or defeat. Big brother, how is it? With Xiao Chen's strength, he can accompany you to that gathering, right? Ba Tu asked with a smile as he walked over with Yu Bingyun. Ba Yan nodded and said, naturally he can. However, brother Xiao Chen has to be willing first. Xiao Chen felt somewhat confused as he asked, what gathering? Ba Yan took out an invitation and smiled. I don't know who initiated it, but it's a small gathering for the successors of the 13 great bandits. I received it the moment I came out of closed-door cultivation. It should be someone who wants to test the might of my fist. I don't think I'm a descendant of a great bandit, Xiao Chen said with a frown. He felt that this gathering had nothing to do with him. Ba Yan smiled and said, how can you not figure it out? Even an uncouth person like me knows that this gathering is a test of strength before the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. Tell me, does it have anything to do with you? Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. It was the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting again. Xiao Chen had already heard these words several times. However, he had been busy repairing and rebuilding the dragon subduing platform, so he did not know what the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting was. Could it be that you still do not know what the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting is after being in Dark City for so long? Seeing that Xiao Chen still had a somewhat confused expression, Ba Yan and Ba Tu both showed surprised expressions. Xiao Chen smiled embarrassedly and said, I really do not know about this Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. I came to Dark City for another matter. I am preparing to leave 3 days later. Ba Tu, tell him about it. I thought that he was here for the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. Ba Tu thought for a while and organized his words. Then he said, the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting is jointly held by the factions of the 13 Great Bandits. The purpose of this is to promote competition between the various outstanding talents. It is held once every 5 years, and it is like a test. Anyone with an outstanding talent token can register. The competition is intense and cruel. The top 10 will all receive rewards. The top 3 will receive the most valuable rewards. They will all receive varying amounts of essence stones. The first place will receive a medial grade profound martial technique and a chance to enter the dark blood pool to strengthen the physical body. Essence stones? A medial grade profound martial technique. A light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. These 2 items held a fatal attraction to any blue-robed emperor. No wonder the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting was so attractive. This also explained why he saw so many cultivators from the foreign seas coming to apply for an Outstanding Talent token at the City Administration Hall. What do you think? Do you still think that this small gathering has nothing to do with you? Ba Yan said with a smile, it is very difficult for those who rely on connections to get in. Even if Ba Tu wanted to go, I would not bring him. The ones going this time will definitely be the strongest of the great bandits' descendants. Without sufficient strength, you will only be humiliated. Xiao Chen quickly made his decision. He said seriously, many thanks, Brother Ba Yan. When are we leaving? Let's go now then. After being in closed-door cultivation for more than half a year, my bones have already turned soft. It is time to meet up with those old friends. Ba Yan's eyes blazed with fighting spirit as he put away the invitation letter and led Xiao Chen away. Before leaving, there were still some finishing touches to the dragon subduing platform's repairs. So, Xiao Chen could only ask Yu Bingyun to help. Fortunately, Yu Bingyun did not reject it, happily accepting it. However, Xiao Chen found it strange. Given Yu Bingyun's strength, she should be able to participate in the Outstanding Talent Summit meeting. However, she did not seem interested. With Ba Yan leading the way, the 2 flew around the city without any fear. With the Outstanding Talent token in hand, they completely ignored the rules of Dark City that prohibited flying. Along the way, Ba Yan was very talkative. Perhaps it was because of their bloodline, but the descendants of the Flame Rock Sovereign were rather carefree, not holding back when they spoke. Xiao Chen, what exactly is the relationship between you and the Holy Daughter? Thanks to you, this is the first time the Lunar Palace's holy daughter has come to our Flame Rock Castle as a guest. Ba Yan was no different from Ba Tu in this aspect. They were both very gossipy. Helpless, Xiao Chun could only give a solemn explanation. However, Ba Yan still did not believe him. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. We have arrived. After traveling for a long time, the two arrived before a restaurant in the inner city. The restaurant gave off a strange aura. Its frame felt exceptionally sturdy. This is the famous Conflagration restaurant of Dark City. The entire restaurant is made of divine materials. Furthermore, there are restrictions laid on it. Even if a battle breaks out in there, it will not damage the restaurant. It is the favorite place of the Black Sea cultivators. Ba Yan had been to the Conflagration restaurant several times before, so he was familiar with the place. Ba Yan strode in, and the originally noisy hall immediately fell silent. Nearly everyone's gazes focused on him. Damn, this battle maniac came out of closed-door cultivation. Hurry up and leave. After holding it in for more than half a year, I wonder who he will vent his anger on. A moment of panic appeared in the hall. The messy tables immediately opened up a path for Ba Yan. Xiao Chun laughed hoarsely and said, "It looks like you are quite famous in this place." Ba Yan's lips curled up as he said, "How boring. I still miss the first time I came here. Back then, I fought to my heart's content. Now, the Black Sea cultivators are becoming increasingly cowardly." The location of the gathering was on the second floor of the Conflagration restaurant. Someone had already reserved the entire place. Without an invitation, one could not enter. Chapter 1175. After handing over the invitation, the two of them walked in smoothly. Compared to the bustling hall, the second floor was much quieter. The two did not arrive early. Several young cultivators were already seated in the seats that had been cleared. The instant Xiao Chun stepped onto the second floor, he immediately felt several sharp gazes directed at him. There were many familiar faces here. Lu Yun and Xia Yang were here. It looked like they had been here for a long time. What surprised Xiao Chen was that Jiang Feng, whom he met at Blackwater Island, was here as well. After not seeing Jiang Feng for some time, Jiang Feng's strength had increased very quickly. He now exuded a dangerous aura. Clearly, Zhao Feng noticed Xiao Chen as well. He was similarly surprised. However, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and his lips curled up in a cruel smile. Several people who saw Xiao Chen started discussing in whispers. Xiao Chen chopped off the metal puppet's head with one saber strike. This news had recently spread like wildfire, inciting a huge debate. A blue-clad bladesman on a seat suddenly smacked the table. A wine cup flew up and spun around quickly. "Hey, white-robed bladesman, you have been in the limelight recently. I'll treat you to a cup of wine." The blue-clad bladesman smiled coldly and gently smacked the wine cup. Immediately, the wine cup flew at Xiao Chen at a speed that the naked eye could not catch. Indeed, it was as Ba Yan said. The people who came were all unruly. If one was weak, one would only be humiliated. The moment Xiao Chen entered the second floor, someone immediately put on a show of strength. The wine cup that flew over from nowhere was very particular. It was not just at a speed that was hard to catch with the naked eye. All the wine in the cup was infused with the blue-clad bladesman's strong saber intent. If Xiao Chen was not careful, he would end up making a fool of himself, regardless of whether he could catch it or not. If Xiao Chen caught it, the wine filled with saber intent would have long since reached a critical point after spinning thousands of times, exploding upon contact. The explosion would have covered Xiao Chen's entire body. Every drop of water was a lethal existence. Xiao Chen could not avoid a sorry state. If Xiao Chen could not catch it, the other party would say that he was not sincere. This show of strength was very powerful. The descendants of the great bandits were all sneering, waiting to see how Xiao Chen would respond. Ba Yan narrowed his eyes slightly and did not make a move. This was a show of strength aimed at Xiao Chen. If Xiao Chen couldn't even pass this small hurdle, it could only prove that he had misjudged and shouldn't have brought Xiao Chen here. Xiao Chen smiled gently. It was unknown when the lunar shadow saber had appeared in his left hand. In the time it took for a spark to fly, the resplendent saber was unsheathed. Who? The instant Xiao Chen drew his saber, a strong wind containing Xiao Chen's saber intent howled out, lifting everyone's hair. First, Xiao Chen used his strong saber intent to suppress the saber intent in the wine, stopping it from spinning. When the saber was completely drawn, the saber and the wine cup happened to be in a straight line. The wine cup stopped firmly on the tip of the saber. Xiao Chen used his outstanding eyesight, strong saber soul, and fast speed to catch the other party's wine cup. The two looked like good friends that had not met for many years when the blue-clad youth tossed out the wine cup. The blue-clad youth tossed out the wine cup, and Xiao Chen drew his saber to catch it. Their cooperation was tacit. This tense and exciting scene might sound complicated, but in reality, it happened in just an instant, in the blink of an eye. The wine cup stopped spinning on the tip of the saber, and the wine shot out. Xiao Chen raised his head and opened his mouth. The wine flew in a beautiful arc and landed in Xiao Chen's mouth. Not bad. This is indeed good wine. I'll return the cup to you. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber, and the wine cup stopped hovering in the air. Then he wiped the wine off his mouth. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes, and the 60% comprehended saber soul in his sea of consciousness moved with a thought. Then, it attached itself to the wine cup and flew towards the blue-clad youth. The empty wine cup that flew over was like an unparalleled saber light, boundlessly sharp and containing a boundless saber intent. According to the etiquette of toasts, Xiao Chen should have offered a cup of wine in return, not an empty cup. Naturally, Xiao Chen knew about etiquette. However, he had another reason for doing so. The blue-clad youth put on a show of strength the first time they met. Honestly speaking, Xiao Chen did not feel much resentment. This was how the world of cultivators was in the first place. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Xiao Chen had long since calmly accepted this. However, he had his own pride. If the other party could catch this empty cup, he would be qualified to receive a toast from him. If the blue-clad youth could not catch it, then he would be sorry. Xiao Chen would not even look at this person in the eye. After Xiao Chen perfectly caught his wine cup with the tip of his saber, the blue-clad youth's expression became much more restrained. When the blue-clad youth saw the empty cup return, his expression turned grave. As the saying went, the layman watched the excitement, while the expert watched the excitement. The two's exchange looked very flashy. All the outstanding talents present knew what kind of danger was contained within these few simple actions. If it were a small perfection blue-robed emperor without much strength, that cup of wine from the blue-clad bladesman would have been sufficient to severely injure him. However, not only did Xiao Chen catch it perfectly, but he even returned an empty cup to the blue-clad youth, testing the blue-clad youth's strength. The situation immediately became interesting. Liu Yang's grandfather is known as the Black Sea Saber Sovereign. He has always been the strongest bladesman of the Black Sea's younger generation. This time, he probably met with an expert. I wonder if he can catch the cup? All the outstanding talents turned their gazes to Liu Yang, wanting to see how he would deal with this. This increased the pressure on him. Liu Yang's thoughts raced. Many countermeasures flashed in his mind, but he rejected them all. It was not difficult to catch the empty cup. However, not only did he have to catch it, but he also had to catch it as beautifully as Xiao Chen did, casually catching it. Otherwise, if he put in too much effort, he would end up at a disadvantage in this formless competition. In one breath of time, Liu Yang thought of a countermeasure. He stretched out his right index finger and gently tapped, catching the empty cup flying over perfectly. Hu Qi! The wine cup spun rapidly in Liu Yang's hand. Every time it spun, it scattered a large portion of the saber intent that Xiao Chen added to it. The wind howled, buzzing. The saber wind that Liu Yang sent out lingered on the second floor. It was like many treasured sabers humming endlessly. The sharp saber intent made everyone's expression turn serious. This empty cup that Xiao Chen returned with was not simple at all. Similarly, Liu Yang's hand that caught the empty cup with one finger was not careless at all. The two of them were evenly matched as they fought back and forth. There is no wine in the cup. It looks like young Master Xiao says that it is good wine, but in reality, You look down on this Lu's wine. You are not even willing to return a cup. Never mind, this Lu will offer you another cup. I will make sure that your words are the same, no longer saying one thing and thinking another. In Lu Yang's mouth, the empty wine cup that Xiao Qin used to test the waters became a new excuse, an excuse for him to make another move. Lu Yang spun the wine cup around his finger and smiled faintly. Then he suddenly let go, letting the cup spin in the air. It was like magic. The instant Lu Yang let go, an exquisitely carved white jade wine bottle emanating a cold qi appeared in his right hand. The wine that flowed out was like snow melting on a mountain peak, slowly falling into the wine cup. The temperature of the entire second floor plummeted. As Lu Yang poured the wine, it became increasingly cold. It was so cold that everyone felt their blood freeze. Strands of cold qi rose from the wine cup. An alluring wine fragrance spread out, shattering one's heart and causing them to reveal an intoxicated expression. What wine is this? Why is it so fragrant? It must be a peak-quality wine. At the same time, it perfectly matches Lu Yang's will of ice. The wine that he is going to offer is definitely extraordinary. Interesting. This is getting more and more interesting. The outstanding young talents discussed the unexpected clash between the two bladesmen. Everyone was filled with anticipation. When the wine cup landed on the table, it was filled to the brim. Lu Yang put down the wine bottle and picked up the wine cup, shaking it gently. A clump of snowflakes soared up from the wine. Countless snowflakes bloomed, and an ice phoenix grabbed the wine cup and spread its wings to fly away. This wine is called 1,000-Year Snow. I was fortunate enough to buy 10 bottles in the distant ice sea. I hope that I will not disappoint Brother Xiao this time. Lu Yang's gaze turned cold. The wine cup filled with 1,000-year snow emanated Lu Yang's cold and emotionless saber intent. Then he charged forward together with the ice phoenix. The ice phoenix, which was originally just an image, seemed to come to life with the support of Lu Yang's saber intent. The ice phoenix held the wine cup with its claws. Its eyes were cold and piercing, looking cold-blooded and emotionless. Just this cold gaze alone allowed others to catch a glimpse of Lu Yang's strong saber intent. The sudden appearance of the ice phoenix caused the wine cup to fly over much faster than before. As it spread its wings, it carried a sharp saber intent and a strong pressure. Xiao Qin did not dare to underestimate it. He dodged and pushed off the ground. Then he spread his arms and slowly flew backward. He retreated. Lu Yang's lips curled up in a cocky smile. In the end, he still retreated. However, Lu Yang's smile slowly froze. As Xiao Qin retreated, his white robes fluttered and his long hair fluttered. Every strand of his hair and every strand of his fluttering robes gave off a strong saber intent. Ding, 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 ding. As Xiao Qin's hair fluttered, the sound of the saber sounded like zither music. As Xiao Qin's robes fluttered, the sound of the saber sounded like a heroic war drum. As the zither and drum sounded, Xiao Qin advanced by retreating. He used his strong saber intent to resolve Lu Yang's sharp and unparalleled saber intent on the ice phoenix step by step. Xiao Qin spun around and smiled faintly. Then, he sat behind a table and casually put down the lunar shadow saber. Then, he stretched out his hand to catch the wine cup. Xiao Qin easily caught the wine cup of the ice phoenix, which had already exhausted its saber intent. The ice phoenix circled around Xiao Qin's head before turning into snowflakes and drifting down. Looking at the wine cup in the wine cup, Xiao Qin picked it up and drained it in one gulp. When the wine entered his throat, it felt incredibly spicy and had a strong aftertaste. It made him feel very carefree and delighted. It is indeed a good wine. Young Master Lu, you lived up to your words. Xiao Qin praised Lu Yang as he put down the wine cup with a slightly flushed face, appearing somewhat tipsy. Lu Yang's heart sank, but his hands did not stop moving. He said coldly, as the saying goes, drink 3 cups when you meet. Since it is good wine, then drink 3 cups in a row. Lu Yang, who was not convinced, filled 3 cups of 1,000-year snow with dazzling movements. Then he sent them to Xiao Qin again. Good timing. Xiao Qin was a wine lover in the first place. This 1,000-year snow suited his taste. He laughed loudly and picked up the empty wine cup. Then, he infused his saber soul into it and knocked it against the table. Bang! You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.